everybody. How's it going?
Hey, everyone.
What's
What is up?
happening? Wow, what a great weekend and last several days it's been with Terrifier coming out. Wow.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm surprised all of us have gone to see it. So we're going to talk a little news today, and then we're going to jump into our spoiler-free version of the live podcast. Oh, that's awesome.
So I got my little AMC. I gotta turn it this way. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I got mine on the shelf, so I got this with me.
Got my monster.
spring
I'm ready.
water.
I'm about to change my name to Kyle.
So we'll talk Terrifier news. We'll talk some spoiler-free stuff, and then we're going to go into some spoiler talk and possible predictions, including I have the letter that Jonathan wrote to Sienna. Clear version. We can all look at it together and see what it says, and then we
Interesting.
kind of debate over it. Because I know we've all been talking about a certain somebody in this film and what could possibly happen with them in the next film, but I think this letter kind of will clear that up a little bit.
Nice. Let's do it.
All right, so let's get into some of the exciting news. For those that are not fully up to date, I'm sure any Art the Clown and Terrifier fan is up to date on what's going on, is the box office numbers have been released. And first off, it crushed
Yes.
Joker.
Yeah.
Joker dropped
It did.
81% in the box office. And this is like the second time in a row because if everybody remembers, Terrifier 2 knocked out Halloween too from its
Yes.
top spot
Yes,
when
man.
it came out.
Yep.
So we have an 81% drop. Terrifier 3 is number 1 and it opened with $18.3 million this weekend. So it looks like this
Wow.
week, right? This weekend's total is almost higher than its previous run. Isn't that right, Marcus?
Yeah, because overall we made Terrifier 2 made 15. So
Nice.
All right. For those that don't know, Marcus was a producer on Terrifier 2.
Yeah. And so we looking at it says so I'm on Deadline, Dave.
Okay.
I know you're on Variety. Deadline, according to Deadline, 18.3 million plus, and is a 3-day. So after an 8.2 million on Friday, 5.9 million on Saturday, and 4.2 million on Sunday.
is this all
Yeah.
domestic or are they including international too?
That's a good question. It didn't really say just yet. I'll deep dive into that. But what it did was it did say the threequel received a B cinema score, which is high praise for the moviegoer pollster, as it doesn't hand out a lot of A's to horror titles. So it's really, really high. Yeah.
Well,
Good.
that's awesome.
Now, I'll tell you, it's pretty damn amazing to kind of see where this film has come. You know, starting as a short film, The Night Circle, a little over 15 years ago, to having a spin-off from a collaborative horror movie, All Hallows Eve, and the part 2 making the theaters where part 1 didn't make it. So I wonder if there's any other movies that are kind of out there where the number 2 hit the theaters and the number 1 never did.
Ooh, I
Interesting.
can't think of any off the top of my
Let me
head.
see.
to be honest.
I'll be your Jamie. Let me deep dive like Joe Rogan's Jamie. I got you, bro. Let me see.
I think it's just really interesting to see how far this franchise has come.
Yeah.
Like, it's now, it went from barely even being known to, like, just being an idea, as most things are, to now being taking out a beloved DC character in the box office is kind of crazy.
Yeah. All right. So while Danny's looking that up, we have Lucas in the chat. Hey,
We
Lucas,
got the
how's it going?
yoinker.
What's going on?
We got Derek
Katie's in
Dixon. $22 of that box office was his money. How many times did you go see it, Derek? I'm up to 2. I'm up to 2 myself.
I'm up to 1, but I'm thinking I'm gonna go see it at least 2 to 3 more times, depending on who wants to go with me.
Mhm.
And
Well,
it's
I'm definitely-
funny. It's funny
Right.
with my history with the franchise is because I actually saw the Ninth Circle first, and then Dave told me about Terrifier, and I was like, when I finally saw it, he was like, "Man, you got to check it out. You got to check it out." I remember he was like, "Dude, you got to check it out. You got to check it out. You got to check it out." And then it dawned on me. I was like, "Wait a minute, man! I saw this like character like all these years ago." and we would talk about it, we would joke about it and everything, and that's how we just fell in love with the franchise. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
far,
I
so far
haven't been
there's
with the
nothing.
franchise as long. No.
Yeah, so far there's nothing on Google. I'm gonna have to like go on other search engines, but right now, every
There
time
was
they're
some-
like, yeah, I can't find one unless you can, Dave.
There was something that came out about France. I saw floating around on Facebook earlier, but I didn't bookmark it.
Yeah, it opened
There
up
it
in
is.
France and it opened up in London. And I can't remember if it opened up in Australia yet.
Yeah, so we have Terrifier 3 tops the box office in France with Monster opening day.
Yeah, because they got it 12 hours before we did.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I guess probably later this week we'll probably start hearing numbers from all over the country or all over the world with this one.
All right, I got something. AI came through for Google.
Oh.
All right, so a few examples of sequels that were released in theaters that were not, that their original films were not, was Texas Chain Massacre 2 was released in theaters, but the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was only home video release. Friday after next. Yeah. Friday after next. Original Friday was released in theaters, but next Friday was a straight to home video. So the first and the third, but the second one wasn't. Leprechaun 2 was theaters only first, and the first Leprechaun was direct to video release. Alien Resurrection was in theaters. The first Alien was a theatrical release, but Alien 3 was originally home to video. Or video to home. Excuse me.
One. Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that AI there because Texas Chainsaw Massacre not in theaters. That doesn't sound
the
right.
first one. It says originally was only released on home video. Originally.
It was
like,
I think they
didn't
released it in theater.
Yeah, it wasn't originally released as a box office.
All right. We do have a special guest with us tonight. I'm seeing him in the backstage, so we'll bring him on as soon as I see him on camera. But we're gonna start talking about the video game in a second.
Yes.
And let me go ahead and.
I'm very excited for all the. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. There he is.
Hey,
Montavious.
What is up, party people?
How's it going,
man?
It's good to see you, brother.
Going. Sorry, I am late. Just getting home from Mad Monster, Colorado. So
nice.
It's fine. We all have chaos ensue right before the podcast starts, anyway. So we get it.
For sure.
Yep. All right. So for those that have seen you maybe once or twice on our channel, Montavious, you want to give yourself a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. Well, Montavious Parker, lover of all things spooky and horror, fellow podcaster, fellow HorrorCon traveler, and that's about it. Oh, and film enthusiast, I should add. So,
nice. There
the
you go.
writer of Mirror Mirror, which is going to be filmed next month.
Yep.
All right, so let's go ahead. I see we have a theory out there from Paul. We're going to talk theories a little bit in our spoiler section of this chat tonight. But let's take a look at the other exciting news outside of the box office that came up, and that is the Art the Clown getting his own video game, The Arcade.
I love the Arcade.
I am pretty damn excited for this here. So,
I love that it's the what is it, 8-bit? I love it. I love it.
8-bit side scroller. It's not even like we're getting these. We're getting so many like 8-bit horror games because we're getting this, and then Retro Realms is releasing their double feature Halloween and Evil Dead video game. I'm loving that we're getting like just all of these 8-bit horror games, and you're playing as the character. You're playing as Michael, and you're playing as Art, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if this pisses off any of you here or anybody that's listening right now, but what pisses me off with the horror merchandise, the lack of horror merchandise that we get out there, right? Walmart releases their. I'm going to pause this real quick and we'll talk about it. Excuse me. But Walmart goes ahead and releases their Halloween steelbooks, and they're gone in my area within a week, right? And how many other times that we go out to these stores and we see horror merchandise that's released at Walmart or something like that, like glasses and stuff like that? It's gone. They never replenish it. And you think people would get the idea after a while. It's like, hey, man, every time we put out these special horror things at Walmart or in these other stores, they sell out within a couple of weeks, and then we just have empty shelves forever. You think they would catch on that video games and more merchandise being pushed out there is something that people want.
Yeah, you would think that physical media would
still-
stay around because people actually want it, but no, they're just going to keep getting rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. So 52-second little trailer here that came out. I don't know. No, you're a newer gamer compared to us old folks that are on here. So what do you think about the whole 8-bit?
Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan of 8-bit side-scroller type games, so I'm very excited about this one. I'm going to be pre-ordering this one as well as the other games that I mentioned as well, because they're just so fun. They look so fun and so cool. They're just a little bits of mayhem that you can enjoy. I don't know. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. I like horror video games just as much as horror movies. So, and those are like a lot different from what these are, but I really find that the 8-bit action, I mean, like the Scott Pilgrim game when that came out, I really love the Scott Pilgrim game. That's a really fun game. The Ninja Turtles game, the original arcade Ninja Turtles game, because we have that on the arcade system. So I really enjoyed the 8-bit, the idea of like the 8-bit arcade games. And if these are, I don't know if they're going to be multiplayer, but if the Terrifier game is multiplayer and they have couch play, that's going to be really fun to do couch play on console again. So I'm really excited to see what this offers. Because if it offers couch play or online multiplayer, like just any kind of multiplayer, and you get to play as all of the different characters from the franchise, and you just get to mess people up, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. So we got a couple other people here. So we got Jim. Hey, Jim, how's it going? We got Paul. I just clicked on his later tweet. So, hey, Paul, thanks for joining us. All right, so before we give our own reviews here, maybe everybody so when did you discover Art the Clown? So, Marcus, you were saying that you first came across it with the Ninth Circle. Like, how did you discover the Ninth Circle?
Man, I was just browsing YouTube one night, man, and that's how I discovered it. It was on there. I was like, yo, this is wild. You know, I was like, this movie is just wild, but it was like such a thrilling, fun ride. And then I just kind of followed Damien through that way, and then stumbled across the 2011 short film. And then once I met you all in 2015 was when we met at Monster Mania. You told me about the soft reboot with Terrifier 2016, and I was like, oh, cool, I'll check it out. And when I finally watched it on Netflix that year, I was like, wait a minute, I've seen Art like way back, when. So yeah, man, I've been following it all the way since the Ninth Circle, and that's how I hit it off with Damien and the guys. Was like telling them like, hey, I knew about Art all the way back then, even before All Hallows Eve, was made. And so and just been a fan ever since.
Nice. How about you, Danny?
You were the one that put me on it, which was dope. I've been a horror fan, very, very niche horror fan. So a lot of people know that I grew up watching different stuff because my aunt, this is a fun story. So my aunt, she celebrates her birthday on Halloween. So growing up with older cousins, and my uncle was a prankster, like to show us movies that scared the bejeebus out of us when we were kids and whatnot. And every year we used to go to Halloween Horror Nights as a family. That was our tradition. Aunt celebrated birthday, and we would go to Halloween Horror Nights. So
I'm so jealous.
Dude, it was scared the Jesus out of me, man. And we used to collect the Coke cans. We used to collect the Coke cans to get the discounts, all that to do it. So very, very niche times that I watched horror movies, but doing the podcast with you, getting back into my roots, getting more into horror. And then you told me, you're like, hey, have you seen Terrifier? And I was like, no. And then Marcus obviously is a producer of Terrifier too. And you're like, hey, you need to go watch it. I was like, all right, fine. I'm watching it, very 80s. And you know me, I'm very hard on, certain films. And I'm like, man, this is really 80s cheesy film until I started seeing the killings. I'm like, yeah, damn. And so I got hooked real instantly, especially with the Saw in Half. You know what I mean? That sold me. And so Saw Part 2, liked it, had some questions, and then Part 3 definitely was good. So yeah, it was all because of you, bro.
All right, Noah, how about you?
Well, if we're talking about, so I think I have actually watched every single movie in the franchise, including All Hallows Eve, in order. I don't remember who showed me All Hallows Eve, so it's probably you. And then same deal with Terrifier 1. You showed me that one. and I wasn't initially hooked. Like I didn't really care for All Hallows Eve, and I also didn't really care for Terrifier 1. But when Terrifier 2 came out, you asked me if I wanted to see it, and I was like, I guess so. Loved the movie. It's fucking great. And so I decided to give the other movies a shot when we were doing our predictions. I was like, all right, I'll just watch them over again so we can do our predictions for Terrifier 3. And watching them over again, I appreciated them more because it was such a progression to get from All Hallows Eve to Terrifier 2. So my issue with Terrifier 1 was that I didn't feel that the story was as great, fantastic, whatever. But it was where it needed to, where it was at, and where it needed to be to get to Terrifier 2. So I appreciated it for what it was to get to Terrifier 2. So all of them, it's pretty much all of them except for 3, because after seeing Terrifier 2, I was gonna see Terrifier 3 regardless. Yeah, you pretty much showed me the entire, got me into watching every movie of the franchise up until the 3rd one.
All right, and then a quick couple of shout outs. We got Mars joining. Hey Mars, thanks for joining. We got Cody Leach joining. Hey Cody, thanks for joining. All right, so Montavious, before we get into our reviews, how did you get into this?
So it was actually 2015. I was in college at Maryville College in Tennessee, and I had an intro to film class that I was doing, and we went over Singing in the Rain and Gone with the Wind as one of our film projects. And I remember it was my friend Mason, and he was like, yeah, these movies are good, but this really blows. Let's watch something else. And he actually was the one who showed me All Hallows Eve in 2015. And that's kind of where it started. Like, I didn't know, thinking back, and it was 2015, I was like, what, 18, 19? So I had no idea that this would, like, we'll be sitting right here talking about, another iconic clown. So yeah, 2015.
Nice. I'll have to say this. With me, I came across it because I was the admin of the Horror Family on Facebook, and I started seeing some posts pop up about it, and then it's like, yeah, let me go check this out. And as soon as I saw it, I was hooked on it. I didn't think I was gonna like it at first, but as soon as it got going, I was like, yep, this is definitely for me. And I've been kind of hooked on it since then. And anybody that's watching this now, hi Shama, I have to say this. Everybody that's on this chat right now isn't one of those people that are out there like, well, if you haven't been down with them since the Ninth Circle, then you're not a true fan. That's not how it works here on the channel, right? So, yeah, if you're a fan of it, whenever you discover it, hey, that's good on you. So let's talk about reviews before we start getting into some spoiler discussions. Montavious, you're a guest here today. Go ahead. What is your reviews on Terrifier 3?
Woo. All right. So I enjoyed it. I definitely think that the gore was there. The gore was promised and it was delivered on, and I think everybody can agree with that. However, I left the theater with more unanswered questions. So that's where my issue lies. So I'm hoping, and I know, hopefully come the 4th installment, those questions will be answered. So again, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. Actually going to go back and see it here shortly. So yeah, so I'll leave it there.
So Montavious, right. What questions did you have? Like what?
So okay,
because we're doing a spoiler talk. We are doing a spoiler talk. So spoiler warning for everybody.
Not yet. Let's just do
the spoiler-free review.
Yeah, spoiler-free review.
Okay.
We'll
So
get
we'll
to the spoilers.
Back to it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll wait.
All right. Noah, how about you?
I also really enjoyed the movie. I personally think that just based on because the story was there. Like, I really appreciated the story. I think that it was a lot better developed than the second one was, and the second one had a great story. I really loved it. Questions were definitely answered. Some predictions were proven, and some were not. But I think overall, the special effects, all the gore and stuff like that, I don't think that any particular scene was more graphic than the alley scene, just in my personal opinion. There were some pretty hefty. There were some pretty hefty scenes, but I think the alley scene still takes the cake in my opinion. But I think the gore overall was really fun. The entire movie honestly, the only thing I can say spoiler free that really sums it up is that this is a gore horror movie and not for the faint of heart. People who saw it, and before we did, we were seeing the articles, 11 people walked out. Our theater that we went to, everyone, including us, was laughing almost the entire time watching this movie. It was just, it was a really good story and a really fun movie. In my personal opinion, I do believe that it was better than the second one. So I like as you said when we were talking about it when we were leaving the theater, I do believe for me it's a progression of these films. I think that this one held up after it's the second release, and I am glad that it did.
All right, Danny.
So I'm glad that me and you talked previously before seeing this movie of how originally the entire story would have been over 3 hours, hence why it was split and all this other jazz. And you can tell in this movie because as we were saying, in the first one you have a complete story, and the second one you have a complete story, but part 3 is an incomplete story because it's built up to the fourth one, right? So as story goes, obviously I do like Terrifier 2 as a whole better because we get the completeness of it. However, I would not be able to make a fair assessment of 3 until 4 comes out because I feel like it is going to be a complete story. However, like Noah said, love that some predictions came out. I still think, just like Noah said, that Allie's was more horrific. However, the shower scene is right there. It's a very, very close second of the amount of gore and whatnot in it. I definitely, the one thing I enjoyed about Terrifier 3 more than any other Terrifier, though, this one was hilarious.
It was great.
Dude, David Howard Thornton killed it, man. I love that we interviewed him on the podcast before, but he was he nailed it, man, and he's absolutely hilarious in this. The mannerisms, everything else. Just when you think his performance can't get better, it does. It's out of control, right?
Yep.
So that's a really good one that I personally like overall of 3 better than the previous renditions. However, my theater had some psychopaths in it because let me tell you something. I was telling Dave this, guys. We had people on like the most brutal killers, like "fuck yeah," like, and you're just like, "Well, my theater's gonna get shot up. This is great, right?" It's like it was one of those, man, because you had mixed reviews. Like the people next to me, they were very queasy. Like I had both a guy and his girlfriend doing like one of these, and I'm just looking at him like, all right. Then hear me with the sound effects going, "Oh, damn, yo," right? And then you had the psychopaths like in the back. So it was a really good time. And also to your point where merchandise almost, and I didn't have one, but almost everyone in the theater had Art the Clown shirts.
Nice. We saw someone dressed up as Art the Clown in the theater for, opening on Thursday.
Yep. Yeah, didn't have that yet, but we had everyone with shirts, and then a lot of people did buy the AMC Cup, guys. I'm talking about a lot of people bought these. I didn't drink out of it because I want to put it in my little glass case, but you saw people using it as a regular cup, people having it like I did.
Support those independent filmmakers.
Yeah, it was great. So Damien did a hell of a good job on this one. You know,
I'll tell you this. So I have the trilogy of cups because AMC, Regal, and Cinemark are all slightly different from each other. So I have those cups. I have the head ordered, and I have to order those little tumblers next. I thought after starting the petition, I wasn't going to get my hands on any of it. I'm pretty happy that I have my hands on all of this stuff. So, nice. Marcus, what do you got?
So I'm with Danny and Noah. I actually enjoyed the progression as far as the story and the lore. I love where it has gone from. I mean, you can include All Hallows Eve and Ninth Circle and the Terrifier short film, but starting off with the 2016 film to where it is now, I love the progression of who and what art is. But like Danny said, and I'm not being biased just because I worked on part 2. Overall, I just enjoyed part 2 more. Because of the shock value, because of the story, because of introducing Sienna as such a badass final girl, you know, and not, you know, introducing the little girl and the demon within Victoria, you know, finding out a little bit more about what Victoria was. So I love the progression from Victoria from part 1 all the way to 3. Yeah, man. For me in 3, you know, while Lauren, everybody did their job in this movie. Like everybody was awesome in their roles. Victoria, Samantha as Victoria, for me was the highlight of the movie, man. She was my favorite character in the entire movie, even more so than Art.
Interesting.
Because she was just freaking demented, dude. She was just freaking evil. Like to me,
nice
what
balance.
she was like exactly, because Art didn't speak. It was like everything that she conveyed vocally is what like Art is like, I guess, emoting physically. You know what I mean? So it's a perfect balance of the two.
Their
My
chemistry
only
on
gripe
screen was
with the
fantastic,
movie,
I will say.
yeah. My only gripe with the movie is I wish Elliot as Jonathan was in the film more. I felt kind of slighted with his character. Especially not going into the spoilers parts. Just we'll talk about it when we get to that point. So yeah, that was my major gripe with the movie, was he wasn't in the movie enough. You know.
Yep.
And also, I kind of, even though we know what happens with the, you know, the demon and Victoria and stuff, I kind of wanted Amelie back as a little pale girl, because she was such a polarizing character, an awesome character in part 2. I wanted to see her again. You know, so those are my 2 issues of Jonathan not being in the movie enough and the little pale girl not physically showing up again. You know?
Yeah, I have some gripes too, but we're gonna leave it for the spoiler talk. Like, there's, I personally have more gripes with 3 than 2, and this is why. But like I said, I can't fairly assess it without 4. So, but we'll get to that. Yeah.
All right, let's say hello to some people before I give my comments real quick. So we have Matthew joining us. So he watched it Friday night. He loved it. The only scene that got him was Vicky watching Art at work. Yeah, we'll probably talk about that in a few seconds.
That scene was wild.
Yeah. We got Purple Minded Mall scene, my favorite, but Art meeting Santa was my favorite overall moment.
Yes.
Let's see what else
That
we
was
got
wholesome.
there.
Yeah.
We got rapid fire movie reviewers. There has to be a way more to this movie. Scenes were definitely cut. Yeah.
Yes.
So
one
more comment real quick. So we got Dan on there. There were not too many at the 3:30 p.m. showing at my theater, but I was doing the sound effects too. Nice. Yeah. So in the review I posted on the channel a few days ago, like that was one of the things I mentioned, like the lack of Jonathan in the movie. I thought the dynamic that him and Lauren had in this movie and how their relationship expanded, and seeing how the trauma impacted their relationship kind of made me have some moments. And Danny, you and I talked about this, where like there were times I was like, is Sienna crazy? Is this stuff really happening? Maybe Sienna's just imagining this stuff. I was starting to buy into it, like when Jonathan was on screen and kind of talking about those things. And then the other thing is too, like I felt we rushed from the second act to the third act too quickly. There was some off-screen deaths that I didn't really appreciate that happened, and I felt that we could have probably kicked out some other scenes, because this was really stuffed to the brim with everything that's out there. So I'm wondering if there is an extended cut that we'll see on Blu-ray,
the Lord of the Rings extended cut, where it's like over 3 hours still,
or flashbacks in part 4 that we actually get to see it. That we actually get to see what was, missing. Because we all agree on that. That's awesome.
Yep. Alrighty, so we do know that it is time to go into our spoiler discussions. So everybody, here's the warning.
You've been warned.
All right, it is time to talk about spoilers and talk freely about everything. So thank you for anybody that stayed on, but that was your warning.
So everyone, if you do not want to be spoiled, now's your chance. Please leave the live stream.
Even though not held liable.
Exactly. We want you here. We want the views. We want your likes. Don't forget to like and subscribe. But honestly, if you really haven't seen it, we don't want to ruin it for you, because the experience of it is absolutely incredible.
Yep. So I want to ask this now before we dive into the spoilers. When should we look at the letter now, or should we just talk about the spoilers?
Let's do it now. Let's do it now. Let's look at the letter.
I'm down to clown.
All right. So to set the premise for everybody. So Jonathan wrote Sienna a letter talking about how to defeat the demon and everything like that.
Mhm.
And it's a little confusing when you're watching the movie, I think, where you're hearing that, hey, there has to be a counterpart for the demon, right? Now, I was like, all right, is the counterpart the little pale girl, or is the counterpart Sienna, right? And this answers the question. So we'll take a look at it here.
Yes.
I'll pull it up on screen. So this is the full letter. A lot of it was read during the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the first half of it was really read. And I'm not going to go ahead and read this out for everybody, but I'm going to read out some of the important parts here. So we have the worst kind of evil, like a serial killer. And that's what the demon needs to come back into. So that's the suggestion that maybe Art the Clown possessed a serial killer's body. If the demon enters into this world in the flesh, a counterpart must be appointed to stop it from becoming too powerful. And it's you, Sienna. As long as you're alive, they're vulnerable. So this kind of tells me that it's the whole yin and yang situation, right? So
Yep.
we have good and we have bad. So we have Art, we have Sienna, and we have the little pale girl who becomes Victoria, and we have Jonathan, who both would now presumably be dead. Now, I was thinking that maybe Jonathan survived this whole ordeal with the demon actually dying and having her head cut off and disintegrating. I'm thinking maybe more likely that Jonathan's dead and both of them are dead.
Yes, I would agree. And the reason why I say that is this. Look how many times Sienna paled Art, hit Art, was killing him, yada, yada.
Mhm.
And he didn't disintegrate right away. And it's
Yep.
because she's still alive. But now that there is no counterpart and she killed this demon, Jonathan has to be dead because there's no yin and no yang.
Yep.
So does that mean that both, kind of like how we were saying with Halloween, how there's no Michael Myers with Laurie Strode? Again, we don't agree with, some of us don't agree with that concept. However, the way that Halloween was planned out, there is no Laurie and there without Michael, and no Michael without Laurie. So is this the case with, if there's no Art, there is no Sienna? She has to die. Both of them have to die at the end.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny because we were talking about this with David Stevie on Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, and he brought it up with Halloween too, where it's like, all right, there's got to be that balance, right? So if one goes, the other one's got to go, and that's the only way it really makes sense. So
I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I disagree with that.
Really,
and
really.
I'm
All right,
disagreeing
before
with that
we
for the sole. Okay, go ahead.
Before we get to that, Montavious, what's your thoughts, and then we'll jump over to Noah.
Okay, so my first problem, and I think we can all agree, maybe, is that if Jonathan is actually dead, why he's so pivotal to the story?
Yes.
Why didn't we see that happen? That was
Mm-hmm.
my thing. I'm like, no, there's no way they can do that. There has to be something else to this, because there's no way you kill a character off screen that was so pivotal to the whole storyline. So that was my initial issue. And then the first 10 minutes of the film, and I don't mean to jump, but like the first 10 minutes of the film was amazing. I loved it. However, for me, it was just for gore and shock value. I felt like it didn't really help with the story, even though the story did get progressed. It just didn't. It was just for fun, which is totally fine. But yeah, no, my biggest thing was Jonathan. Like, come on, come on. We got to see that. I want to feel that pain of Sienna watching her brother. So
I agree.
I have to agree with that. And Montavious, to your point, me and Dave talked about this. The 5-year time skip was never really explained. Like, they were both frozen in time, kind of. Both Art and Vicky, aka the new pale girl, right? They were both frozen in time. Was it because they had to heal from Sienna whooping their ass in the second one? Or is it something else? Like, is it a Jeepers Creepers thing that they're out every couple of years?
That's the first thing that came to my mind. But before we dive into that, I may have an idea around that. Noah, why do you disagree with the whole Jonathan premise too?
So you brought it up earlier that there was a lot of off-screen deaths in the film. We talked about this, which is about my theory anyways. We talked about how there was a lot of off-screen deaths, so they were getting us comfortable with the idea throughout the entirety of the movie of off-screen deaths and not questioning it. Because you see art, you see someone else, you know what's going to happen in that off-camera, right? And then you see this skull, just a random skull in the cage with blue eyes. Jonathan doesn't have blue eyes. And then
I paid attention to that the second time I went to see that because I know you brought that up. I didn't notice blue eyes the second time.
I could have sworn the one
it
eye
was-
that was still there looked a little blue.
No, it's more so because it's a decapitated head. And
Decapitated head, yep.
Yeah.
But the demon did lie, though, the first time, saying it was
About Gabby.
So it could possibly line that as Jonathan.
Let's
True,
not
they
forget
could
that
just
the body
capture
that was
Jonathan.
hanging, the decapitated body that was hanging was the guy from the shower scene. And he wasn't, I don't know if he was decapitated originally. I don't remember that, but...
No, that was the uncle's body. That was the uncle's body because his head was on top of the Christmas tree.
On the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
That's not even disproving my theory of why he's alive then. That's just the uncle. Then we're getting this off-screen death of such a big character. And then at the end, so you're saying that one person has to die for the other person to die, right? At the end of the movie, Art was going to die. He was losing. His eyes were glazing over, big lights and everything was happening. Art was about to die. I don't think that the counterpart of good needs to die for evil to die. So, and I don't even think that necessarily that the pale girl even needs a counterpart to exist in the world. I think that it could just do specific levels of power. But even if they are counterparts, who's to say that that's her counterpart anyways? I don't think that Jonathan's alive. I think that would be too easy. I think that we're seeing Jonathan in the ninth circle with Gabby.
Well, was Art dying, or was he just starting to reveal his demon form with the white eyes? Marcus, what do you say?
He was pinned to a corner or pinned to a wall with the dagger that they were so afraid of in his stomach. I think that the demon soul was being corrupted and killed.
Yeah, let me jump on that a little bit too. So yeah, I can see that happening. But let's say, for instance, like Montavious said, the demon lied. So let's say, for instance, they captured Jonathan and just basically was just trying to get Sienna to submit because of the possession. Remember?
Yeah.
But Dave mentioned this to me, and I never thought about it this way. Remember, Art was in part 1. This confirms that Art was just a serial killer, and he died. He killed himself. Then Pale Girl showed up and possessed Art to make him revived. So this could just be one demon spreading itself, kind of like a Voldemort, into multiple hosts, right? And so now that the Vicky host is like gone, then now Art is the last piece of this specific demon. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that means Jonathan probably is not a counterpart, period.
Yeah.
That could mean
Vicky was trying to possess Sienna at the end as well.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So what I'm saying is maybe Jonathan is not a counterpart, period. Maybe the counterpart is just Sienna, period, to this demon who was Pale Girl, who also possessed Art, right? That was the way for Pale Girl to come through. So that means that Sienna is just fighting this one big demon that's just splitting. So that still doesn't disprove the fact that both of them have to be gone. Does that make sense?
Even if it's two separate demons, she said to Sienna, basically mocking her as a question, is like, they said you were the one we were supposed to be afraid of. So she's the chosen one as a counterpart towards all evil, it sounds like.
True, especially with the Crown of Thorns.
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost like a Jesus type character.
We've actually seen this a lot, where like we've seen like characters sidelined. So Jonathan kind of got sidelined in this movie. Let's be real; he really got sidelined in this movie.
Yeah, he did.
But there's a lot left that his character can do. So I think that he's sidelined in this movie is going to be playing a bigger part.
I hope so.
I know. He got a bad rap. I think that he in the scenes that he was in, I think he did a good job. He brought a lot to the story too. He progressed the story forward with his scenes with Sienna and just overall. So like I feel like he's necessary as a storyteller for the movies. So I would like to see him in the fourth one. I think that he is going to show up in some capacity.
If he was killed off screen, it could possibly be one of the biggest mistakes they ever made. But Marcus, what do you say about this whole topic?
So I'm thinking to piggyback off of Noah, and now that I think about it, to piggyback off of Noah and Danny, what if it's possible that, like Danny said, with Sienna killing off the host in Victoria, that Jonathan is the trump card and is the new host? Because technically, Art, if you look at him on the bus, it was as if he kind of was depowered in a sense. You know what I mean? With the demon losing the host of Victoria, it was like maybe he became mortal again in that moment on the bus. You know,
What
temporarily.
about the theory that the host has to be evil, though?
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense. You know, like
Oh, yeah, because
I can
Victoria
understand.
wasn't evil.
Well,
No, but
Victoria wasn't evil, and Emily wasn't
Victoria
evil.
wasn't evil. Yeah. So it's like, and then one thing, I mean, you know, Dave could attest to this, and anybody that grew up Catholic or grew up in the church, what does Eve always try to do? Corrupt the most pure things possible. You know what I mean? So Jonathan would be a perfect vessel for that demon, basically.
Bro.
Especially pinning Jonathan against his own sister, Sienna, who's
I
the
was
chosen
just
one.
about to say
Yeah,
that.
And they implied that
So-
he needed to get laid, so he is the chosen host for a demon.
Yeah.
yeah, I like that. No, seriously, if you think about it, because you got Amelie who tragically passed away in a car accident from the second film, and then you have Vicky or Victoria who was trying to look for her sister. You know, get killed. Well, not get killed, but you know, get mauled, and now she's ugly and all this stuff. And now you have Jonathan. I mean, that does make sense. So, okay, Marcus.
Yeah, so then it's not really an off-screen death because now you have the new host and it's Jonathan, and Jonathan could be killing everybody in the fourth one.
He did
That's
want to dress
brutal.
up as
That's crazy.
Arden too. It's a theory.
Yeah. Because like everybody said, man, he was such a pivotal character in his story. You know what I mean? To kill him off screen like that is that's a crime, man. That's a crime.
I'd rather see the Sienna versus her father aspect of it. But let's take a look. So, hey Jojo, there's your shout out. Thank you for joining us. And I think we'll use this next comment to kind of segue into something that Noah had mentioned to me. So, could Art be
Good
Sienna's
question,
father
Iron.
reborn into evil? So, I know, Noah, you had a good theory about this whole thing too. So, I'll let you kick us off for this one.
Oh, my theory about the Metal Man. Okay, yeah. So so predictions proven. We did see Sienna's father. I loved and ones that were discredited where we came up with the assumption that he was always abusive. It doesn't appear that he was. It actually genuinely appeared that he was a good person. Actually seemed like a dope dude. But in the one scene we get shown him like getting like I guess shown what her path will become of this
Or
warrior.
the tumor.
Or the tumor, but let's be real. It was probably something heinous, something demonic that took him out. Because let's be like, what if he was meant to help Sienna be the warrior that she was meant to be, but now they took him out of the way, hoping that she would never be able to live up to her potential. But since she's the true definition of what righteousness and good is, we don't have that problem.
Yeah, I can agree with that, Noah, because remember the door. Remember the door, because the door was howling.
Yep.
The door was howling and lit up, and then he told her to leave. He was like, promise me to go, da 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 da. So maybe you're absolutely right. Maybe he's a part of this good union, and like Marcus said, they're just trying to take everyone out that's righteous. And so he's kind of like a prophet with visions where Noah was getting him from, right? Pretty much. And I mean, not Noah, excuse me. Jonathan was getting it, right? And so that could definitely be. That's awesome, dude. I like that concept that, you know, maybe they put him against Sienna, but as you saw, the Metal Man was working the armor pieces of the actual warrior. So that's awesome.
So my theory was that is her father, and he is there making her suit, her final pieces of armor in secret in the Ninth Circle, for her to fully power up and suit up in the final battle against good and evil in I guess what is probably hell.
That's a very good. It's a very good one. I was on the fence about that one because the second time going around and seeing that it's an actual demon that's under there, it's like, is it him? But maybe he was
Is it a
converted
demon?
into a demon. I'm kind of
Was
on
he
the
turned
fence.
into a demon, or was he a tortured soul?
Yeah.
Because remember, he got into a car accident that probably charged your body, and then they welded metal to him and put chains on him, and now he's making these armor plates and whatnot.
Makes
Down
sense.
there
He's
looking
in
like an
chains.
Urukai from Lord of the Rings.
Yep. And if we remember, if we go back to All Hallows Eve in the Ninth Circle, there is no demons that are in chains. The only people that are in chains are the people that they've captured.
Are their victims?
Hell
yeah.
So that's good. That's good. Montavious, what's your thoughts on that one?
And isn't the Virgin Mary right next to him?
The Virgin Mary was pulling the chains.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I like that. I kind of wanted to circle back to, what if Sienna's father took himself out of the equation because Sienna has to use him as her driving force, like the love for her father, to defeat this evil, and the only way that she could do that is if he wasn't in the picture. So spiritually, he's gonna be her power, her force that defeats art.
What if the tumor wasn't a tumor, but a demonic possession that he knew about, and he took himself out of the equation because of that? Because he was getting more volatile and becoming drunk and aggressive. So maybe something was trying to corrupt him and possess him, and that was the tumor that was growing on his head.
Couple things.
And the
maybe
demon did say multiple times that they want to take everything that Sienna loves away from her.
Yep.
Just so she could let it in.
Yep.
Yeah, just so she could let the demon in. Because he wanted her void of everything. So yeah.
Now, maybe some things to support it. I have to examine the pictures that are in that room. So anybody that's watching, if you have Easter eggs, shoot me a direct message on Facebook on Nerdbox Official. But there is one picture so far that is out of place in the entire studio, and that is the red picture to the left-hand side, where a zombie hand coming out of the ground and zombies kind of walking towards that hand. So that is the only picture that is a non-comic book drawing for Blaster Man in it. So that may be a little clue there that we haven't picked up on. So, maybe that was the first start of him drawing some of these demonic things out there. I don't know. But I want to take a look at the pictures that are on the door before it becomes the pathway to the Ninth Circle. So my theory for a long time around Sienna and her father was that he got entangled with the Ninth Circle and the cult beforehand, and then they pulled him in to this Ninth Circle further and further, and then when it came time, he felt guilty, and then he killed himself based off of what was going on with the Ninth Circle. And the drawings were warnings like, hey, I have this inside knowledge, I'm going to put it on paper and then kind of pass it over to you. Because what's going to happen, right? Where did he get the visions from, right? Will that ever be explained in part 4? Because I think that's going to be a whole new doorway. Yeah, but it's going to be like a whole bunch more story that you would just need on that. You can't explain that away in 2 or 3 minutes, right? So how does he get the visions, and how is he passing it on? So I think that's a lot of story to kind of cover.
Cool. So boys, excuse my ignorance because I told you I didn't get to All Hallows Eve and the Ninth Circle. But were there any male survivors, like kids, in those? Because if so, he could be one of the kids if there is a survivor.
No.
Now,
to answer the question, no.
Oh, well, I mean, the only thing that you could say is that there are babies from the rituals that you could say that he could be from those, but
that's a great point. That's a great point.
We don't know the timeline of when these movies take place because they take place in a train station and then in the Ninth Circle themselves.
Separate universe. It is a separate universe. That's what Damien said, that the All Hallows Eve is not connected to these films. But if he's pulling certain pieces from exactly.
Yeah.
He's pulling certain pieces from it, you can go there to look for different parts of what you think may be happening.
There you go. Maybe.
One thing I loved about this movie, though, was bringing Brooke back and putting that self-doubt into Sienna's character. Like, all of this is your fault. All dead. So it's showing the importance of why she's the chosen. You know what I mean? And kind of planting that seed of doubt. Yeah.
The best part about Brooke coming back is that she's like genuinely upset and like that's messing with her head. But I think everyone in this podcast was probably looking at it as like, why do you feel bad? She sucked.
Yes.
I was looking at it like I was like in
Yeah,
my
she was a horrible friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible.
Fuck her. Like,
But
you're
at
over
the
here
same
getting all upset
time,
about it. Fuck her. So it's like she's all. I just think that's the funniest part about it is like she's like genuinely like gripping with this turmoil, and they were all like, but why?
Now I almost think, see, this is what I'm pulling from my horror movie knowledge and stuff like that. It almost reminds me of American Werewolf in London, where you have David, Sia, and Jack throughout the entire film, and Jack's kind of laying the guilt trip, and it's like, David, see how I am? You're killing other people, David. You got to kill yourself.
Yep.
That's what comes to mind when I see that character.
Same thing for me. That and who else did that? Nightmare on Elm Street did that once. I think it was like part 4 or something. They did that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. They did. Real quick. So let's go take a look at a comment, and then we'll move on to our next item. We may have a comment that comes and triggers our next discussion there. But we got Paul out there. He called about Jonathan being reborn as a demon. Now 40 minutes, y'all. It would be the most heartbreaking part. Yeah. I agree. It would be heartbreaking, but man, I want to see that information played out there. Next one. Does anyone think that the Terrifier ride is maybe a portal to the Ninth Circle? I can't believe that the location of the ride in the title doesn't come back again.
So to answer that question, the ride wasn't the portal, but the portal was. So if you remember in Terrifier 2, when Sienna fell through the floor, that was the portal. That was the gateway to the Ninth Circle. So
here is the interesting thing. So I thought we would see that again. Maybe that's the cutscene. Maybe we get that in an extended version. But they were in a separate location. So they were in a house and not in the Terrifier ride or anything like that, because they kept focusing on the house throughout the entire movie, or in the beginning half of the movie. So it looks like maybe there's multiple locations that are out there.
Yeah.
Or maybe the portals of hell. Maybe the portals of hell can just open anywhere, because remember,
because we saw that in the end.
Yep.
Yeah, we opened to try to take Sienna, but Gabby fell through. Which here's my next theory. I don't mean to jump ship, Dave, but dude, what if this whole thing? Because you know me, I love my twists, so I have to be skeptical on it. What if this whole thing is portraying Sienna to be the chosen one, but it's actually Gabby? Because Gabby falls through with the sword.
Yeah,
I was thinking that too. That's a possibility.
Do you think that time works differently in hell too? So maybe she comes back and she's older as that drawing that we see of her holding the demon head in the second one or whatever.
Every TV show and movie portrays hell that way, where the time works slower.
Time is different. Yep.
Yeah.
Supernatural, definitely. Remember what was it? He was there. He was there for 3 months, but it was like 30 years or some dumb shit. I forgot. Yeah.
So, before I tune over to Montavious to get his opinion on that, we have a nerd boxer that reached out to me before we went live that said, "Hey, did you notice that during the one scene with Sienna's father, that Gabby is flashed in her place for a split second, and then it pops out?" I was like, "What? Really? I have to now really study that scene." Yeah, because she said, "I caught a glimpse of Gabby being Sienna, the young girl Sienna, in a part of the clip when everything started going wild." I was like, "No, I didn't see that." So now I have a reason to make sure that I see it again so I can study that scene.
Yeah, please. And also in Supernatural, it was 4 months. So Dean was in hell for 4 months, and it was 40 years in hell. That's insane.
Okay. Yeah, there you
Montavious, what do you think about this?
Ooh, I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like we've been learning Sienna for like the past 2 films. I'll be heartbroken to find out like she went through all this tragic just to not be the one that, slays Art at the end. So I'll be kind of upset, but it's a theory. My biggest thing is like, or the question I had is, why did Vicky and Art let Sienna open up a Christmas present? Like, I wouldn't have.
Their sadistic humor got in the way of their intellect.
Absolutely.
I'm like, that's crazy. She went to
because remember, they were torturing. Yeah, they were torturing her. And so what psychological torture is, hey, open this present, and they're torturing her while she's opening the present. It's like they bust her hands open. Open the present, or I'm gonna kill you. Open the present. Remember? So she's like, I'm trying. Take my strong hand. You know, like.
Can we? Since we're getting to the Christmas present scene where we reveal that it is the sword, one of the most badass fight scenes I think I've ever seen in any horror movie, and in several action movies that I've seen in quite a while. That was great choreography. The camera angles were on point. Like that whole scene, fucking love that. It was great.
I don't want to come off of that yet. But so we've seen before in movies where we've even seen in this franchise where we've had the fake out final girl happen, like with
That
Harry.
is true.
And we've seen in Nightmare on Elm Street where we thought we had the Dream Master, only to find out that it was somebody else after that Dream Master died. And we know Damien's love for Nightmare on Elm Street kind of bleeds through the franchise. So it could be the possibility where we go into that next film where Sienna is thinking that she is the chosen one, and it turns out that it's Gabby. Because I don't know if you all caught it, in Gabby's room is a drawing of a Valkyrie on a horse on her mirror.
Yeah, I saw that.
I did not see that.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. Yeah,
Yep.
didn't catch that one. That's a really good one.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean,
It made
also,
me think if she took it out of Sienna's journal. Remember, because she took Sienna's journal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now you could say that, but they decorated her Sienna's room, and they have that big mural on that, and in the mural is a sword.
Yep. Now here's here. Sorry, go ahead, Montavious.
No, I was saying, yeah, sounds like Gabby's the chosen one for sure. I mean, it's too, and the fact that she is so in love with like the story of Sienna and what she went through, has to be, right? Has to be.
So my thing is this: the reason why I'm leaning towards Gabby, and this is also like besides her falling with the sword and stuff like that, is that Sienna's dad basically said, no matter what, this character can't be beaten, period. And we're seeing Sienna getting demolished every twist and turn, decimated, even with the sword. You know what I mean? Like she's getting decimated. Now the sword heals her hands, which is pretty dope, right? Because it got cut by it. But at the same time, though,
Didn't her
it's just
entire
like
hand heal though?
no, the palms. The palms.
It was
healed.
just the palms.
The palms healed. So here's the deal. For a character that can't be beaten, right? She's getting demolished all the time. We got to see in the fourth one how this is going to play out. Is it just the sword is the reason why you can't be beaten, right? Or is it really not Sienna? You know, that's my thing.
Just to counter that point, just because we gotta open up all doors that Sienna is like probably hopefully still the chosen one, because I would prefer that it's still Sienna. Realistically, I think that it makes the most amount of sense with all the character development we've gotten for. That would be a missed opportunity. That would just kind of be like a waste of a character if they did a fake out like that. Because in the moment, that shock that it's actually Gabby and not Sienna would be cool. But we got nothing from Gabby. We didn't really get much out of Gabby.
Here's the thing, right? We've been talking about this on the Nerdbox Facebook page with a lot of people about the endings, like good endings and bad endings. And a lot of it comes back to like, oh, I would change the mist ending. And I always ask, like, why would you change the mist ending? I know it's brutal, it's heartbreaking, but would you be talking about the mist after all these years if that ending didn't exist? Now, if we were to get this fake out girl where Sienna dies and Gabby is the person that has to defeat her, we're going to talk about this for years and years. It's like, oh my God, I thought it was Sienna the whole time. I was wrong. This is it. So that could be the thing.
Maybe, but
to me, this is
Sienna
like
never had any fighting experience. Sienna wasn't like an MMA champion going into this. She's a teenage girl. And also we see Invincible, like the show Invincible. We've seen that, and it's even been like joked about to him that his name is Invincible, but he has been very much considered vincible in what he has endured. And we've also seen that a defining feature in a hero is not the pain that they can dish out, but what they can endure. And Sienna has endured a lot.
Well, to me, I kind of like with this. It's like Damien is paying homage to a lot of previous horror films. We all see that, and horror fans can catch up on that. What if this is another Halloween 4 and 5 situation where the payout with Gabby is what was Danielle Harris' character's name? Halloween?
Jamie.
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 You know, she was supposed to be the new evil and it never panned out. So what if Gabby is the new, you know, the chosen one in this case? And it pans out that way where Sienna has to make the self-sacrifice in order to defeat this evil entity.
Well, also that goes to my theory from the last video, because if this whole family is a righteous savior type family, right, then it definitely makes sense that there's multiple people that could take this role. Does that make sense? So that's why they killed off the dad. That's why they killed off Jonathan. They're killing everyone that could fulfill this role, right? And like you said, whether it's self-sacrifice or just I have the power He-Man that as soon as Gabby touches the sword transforms into this, you know, Valkyrie being, that could happen, right? But
we've also it also seems that only it's familiar relatives of the father.
Yeah, well, true, but what I'm saying is that could be that bloodline of the family, right? You know, there's always been movies like Constantine and other things of the bloodline of Christ or whatever. That could be a possible thing, right? But to you know, talk about what you said, Noah. The reason why Invincible is invincible, in the beginning, the reason why he's getting his ass whooped, because they say when they were young, they're not that strong. Is as they get older, they get stronger. And then by the time Invincible becomes a young adult, he is literally insanely powerful, way more powerful than his father and all the other people from his planet. And that's why he's invincible, right? And
I don't think that he was stronger than everyone from his planet, because
read the comic, dude. Read the comic, because as he gets older,
kicked his ass with his dad's help.
When he gets older, as he keeps getting older, he keeps getting stronger.
He gets stronger.
But what do we also learn about Invincible throughout that story? He does have like his anti-hero arc, but he chooses to try and fight without violence as a hero would. So I don't know. I mean, Sienna is still looking to be the perfect outcome of what a chosen hero would be.
But Noah, one thing like Danny said in the comment, when it comes to Mark, the older he got, the less passive he became.
Yep.
The less passive he became. So
I will say this. So like maybe Danny, to kind of refute this a little bit. Are they killing everybody that's going to be the one? Or are they killing off the ones that aren't the one and trying to possess the ones that are the ones? So they tried to possess Sienna. They didn't try to kill her. They tried to possess her, and they left Gabby alive. So that could be the thing. Yeah. So
that could be
what
true.
do you got?
That could be true.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about that, it's like it's the reason why they left Gabby alive and killed everyone else. It's like I don't think they know. I don't think they know if it's Sienna or Gabby at this point in time. So you got to keep both of them alive. Or no, actually, they was gonna kill Sienna and keep Gabby though, or possess Sienna.
They wanted to possess Sienna, yeah.
But what was the point of keeping Gabby alive though?
Well, they weren't.
Exactly.
They weren't. Remember, they weren't, because
they were toying that they were going to kill her. It doesn't mean that they were going to kill her.
Yeah, remember they captured Jonathan and killed him, like no hesitation, in the uncle. But they caught Gabby and just was like, "Hey, we're going to kill her." But they never actually.
They did also catch Jonathan too as a lure of punishment and like a way of like mentally torturing Sienna, because she was, you know, defending, jumping over him and like seeing him get hit and whatnot. So I think it could also just be mind games, because keeping her, because like right as she's about to be possessed, she's thinking, what are they about to do to, you know, Gabby if I am possessed or whatever. So I think it could just be more mental torture and whatnot, as they've been shown to do a lot.
Yeah, and then one line from the movie, honestly, to like I said, I just have to open all doors because I like my twists, right? But one line that could refute all of this is that when the demon goes to possess Sienna, then it's oh, now I see why he chose you, right? Is he talking about God? Is he talking about the Father?
Oh,
like,
no.
who are they talking about?
He said they, so it's multiple. Yeah. That's what I want to know. Like, who is they? You know?
Yeah.
Is it like a demonic civil war going on down there, or what? Like, you know?
All right, so let's see who we got out there. So we have Braden that's joined us. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's
Thank
going
you for
on?
joining us. We also have the Cornhole 55 that's joined us too. They got a question. So okay, my question is, what's the significance and meaning of Victoria wearing the crown of thorns and the crucifixion thing with the uncle? Now, first, before I turn it over to you guys, we also got Double Knees joining us. Hey, how's it going?
Hellos.
Now, what I'm gonna say is, like, the being a Catholic boy, and for us that went to Catholic school and being altar boys, and being raised in that Catholic upbringing where, like, oh my God, you can't do this, you can't do that, and if you start to ask questions after a while about the Catholic religion, like for me, it's like, hey, you're supposed to be helping all these people. Why are you going to spend all this money on a golden chalice or golden cross? And why you all got brand new cars as priests? Who's paying your bills? Where is the money actually going to? And then because hide the SA things that the church likes to do with the Catholic Church. So knowing that these guys like Damien and the Fuzz on the Lens guys all grew up with that Catholic upbringing, my first thought is like, hey, they're kind of giving the middle finger to the upbringing. But that's just me thinking, like, if I was writing, I'm kind of do almost the same thing. But I'll turn it over to you guys. So what's your thoughts with Victoria wearing the crown and how we have the pseudo crucifixion of the uncle? Danny, I see you chomping at the bit. Marcus, what do you got first? You take us off, and then we'll go right to Danny.
Yeah. No.
I honestly think,
go through
man,
everyone. Go through everyone, and that I'll hop back on. Give me a sec.
Okay.
I honestly think, man, it was just the demon's form of just mocking God and mocking everything pure, at heart. That's that. I won't necessarily say it's a trope, but that's what's like common in a lot of heaven and hell type of stories, where demonic spirits always mock God in some form or fashion. I mean, hell, even Al Pacino did it in Devil's Advocate with his monologue at the end with Keanu,
Could it
calling
also
God
be
an
the
absentee.
Could it also be our upbringing, right? If they all went to Catholic school and raised the same thing, like you and I have talked about this before. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, when it gets to being creepy stuff, it's when we start diving into those religious scenes and stuff like that. That's what really kind of gets you.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, like,
No.
yeah, we all grew up with that, and it's just a twisted way of showing the opposite side of that coin, So.
All right. No, what do you got?
All right, well, I wasn't raised religiously, so I don't have like that same thought process of the. Well, I mean, I don't think positively, but regardless. Anyways, so I would say that it's probably because in the religion of Catholicism and whatnot, Jesus was the chosen, was he not? I would assume that was basically a way of spitting in both the faces of righteousness and holiness and Christianity and all that, and also spitting in Sienna's face, and she's also the chosen righteous force of good against evil. So I would probably say that the significance is that they're making fun of both her and the religion, because she is the force of good meant to fight their demonic evil, because we have established that they're demons.
Savior.
They're and there's probably like some form of a Satan or whatever. So I would say that it's probably just to another way of spitting in her face and torturing her, and then also probably spitting in the face of religion. I don't know if it's in the personal sense of Damien's upbringing, or if it's just the demons doing it because that's what demons do in movies. But that would be my assumption is that it's just more foreplay from the demons.
Could be a little exorcist. Montavious, what do you got?
So I have to agree with Noah on that. I feel like it's just like another form of like, just mockery, because obviously, Vicky and Art know the power that Sienna possesses, right? Like that's the reason why they're trying so hard to get rid of her. So they know that she is, the chosen one, or someone aligned with that, right? Because it could be Gabby. However, that's just a form of mockery, and kind of what Marcus was hitting on earlier. Like, you have the nun, and the reason why, like, the nun takes shape of a nun is for that mockery purposes. And I think, you know, Damien does a great job just to kind of bring that in. But yeah, just making fun of Sienna and, like, you know, just the faith aspect of it.
Because I mean, like Davey, you nailed it when you even brought up the crown of thorns. Like, what did they do? They hit her hands with the mallet, like, as if you know they were putting in nails and everything.
Yeah.
No,
Yep. And in the attic, they happen to focus on a long nail at one point too. All right, Danny, take us home on this one.
So yeah, I think it's a bit of both, right? If you look at the bringing, because I did grow up Catholic as well, so no offense to anyone out there. By the way, with the religion, we're just deep diving into, you know, stories and whatnot, replicating in film. So please don't take it personal. But it's one of those things that growing up in that faith, you know for a fact that demons hate towards the opposite side, right? And so it is in the shape of a bit of mockery because, you know, Jesus was supposed to be the savior, right? He was the savior of everyone. So by having the crown of thorns on Victoria, it can mean one of two things, guys. It can mean that either this is the complete opposite of Jesus. So this is the demon, right? That's supposed to be AKA the Antichrist or whatnot, right? Or just a regular old demon that just hates and mockery, like you guys are saying, of doing so. But I think the point behind it was they were always going to do it with the intention of putting it on Sienna anyway, right? Because even though they were wearing it, or Victoria was wearing it, remember, they're all about pain. I mean, look at the gruesome scene of cutting herself open, right? And spilling the blood, or even doing the other attic scene that we're going to jump into a little bit later, right? But it's all about pain, right? It's all about suffering. And so to put the crown of thorns on Vicky's head, it would go and coincide with the pain, because as soon as they put it on Sienna's head, you can tell that she was drastically hurt. And we saw a bunch of symbolism with nails and hands and stuff like that in the movie, especially the crucifixion of the uncle's body against the wall. But after that, even when Sienna took it off, right, you just saw the immense pain that she was in when they put it on her and when they took it off. So I think the symbolism could be that, and it could be a part of the intricate story, because again, in the religion, there are 9 circles of hell, etc. So I just think it's a bit of both. I think it's a bit of Damien's upbringing, but also how it portrays in this film of dealing with that type of stuff for film. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, Rapid Fire threw this out there for us. They're taking away her faith and her hope. They say it. There is no God and there is no hope.
Correct.
That's a great one. All right, so Danny, you kind of mentioned it, the attic scene. So what do you want to talk about with the attic scene? Besides the glass. Oh, my God.
That glass, bro, man. That glass. I mean, for those of you, as you can tell, Victoria did a little foul play on herself with some glass. Which I was just, self-gratification. I'm like, dude, I was like, why? And I get it, you know what I mean? Well, again, I get it. You know what I mean? You're a demon that gets off on that type of stuff, right? Of the torture and everything else. So sure, why not? It's showing that they're really into this. This is not a game. This is like what they love and what they're passionate about is torturing other people. The whole thing with the nail was great imagery that goes along with the movie. But my biggest question, like Montavia said, that I have is why did Victoria cut herself open in the first place in the tub, and why did Art sit in the chair and wait? Is this a Jeepers Creepers moment? Is it they only come out a certain time, you know, every few years? Or is it they had to recharge because Sienna did kick their ass, you know, with the sword and stuff like that? And, you know, think about it. When you cut Art's head off, and then maybe the demon had to use extra powers to make sure Art wasn't dead. So, you know, what is it? I think it was cool with the trope of someone being afraid and their spidey senses are going off, right? And that guy should have just dipped. If I saw a clown in the chair,
the entire time I was like, are you real? Are you real?
Nah.
Like, dude, why do you care?
Exactly.
Get out of there.
I would have been like, nope. Gone. Especially if I'm that scared already. But again, even though it was a gruesome scene, even though it was cool, that scene just gave me a lot more questions than answers. And I hope they answer that in the fourth one.
You know what question I have though?
What's up?
The scene when Art and Victoria first get back to that house, and Victoria has Art's horn, and you see Art get a little annoyed with her. I want to know like the full dynamic between Art and the demon, like where he got to the point where, granted, he's her minion or the demon's minion in a sense. But was there ever any moment where Art is like, do I really need, you know what I mean, this demon, or can I do this on my own? Or like, because I just felt like there was like a little riff in that moment, even though it didn't get explored more in the movie. And then at the end, with him being on the bus and looking kind of deflated and defeated, and like I said, maybe possibly mortal again. Like what was the true dynamic between the demon and Art? You know, that's what I want to know.
What's interesting that they mentioned about that house too is that the guy made a joke about there being people killed there by a specific person, by like you'd lure
serial killer.
Them. So that could be where Art was originally. And the recharge thing, and I think the recharge things make sense too, because he came out and was fully charged the same day that Sienna gets released from the psychiatric ward. And she did go back, she was back and forth, but now we think that she's at full power to be able to handle herself. But I still feel like we're not getting Sienna at full power. They keep making her like mentally crippled intentionally to fight these people to show how strong she is. But I think that my theory for why Victoria slit her wrists was, one, it could be another biblical reference to whatever. But another thing was Victoria wasn't dead yet.
Correct.
Because in the opening sequence, or when they showed like the hospital scene, she was begging for help, and then the demon took over again. So I think that she was killing Victoria, and then they came back as she just came back as a fully realized demon. That's what I got from that, is that she was taking out Victoria, so she didn't have that duality of a soul trying to fight back. So she drained her of her blood, and then they both needed to recharge.
Yeah, I think so.
Montavious, what you got?
So, kind of circling back with Danny, for that shard glass scene that made me uncomfortable. Like, I think that's worse. I think that is worse than the actual shower scene. If you actually like, that was crazy.
I laughed my ass off.
The scene would have been more uncomfortable if she wasn't using glass, because then at that point it would have just been kind of like a snuff porno scene that I don't know if I would have been okay with. I think the glass added an implement of horror and took away the implement of just sexuality from it. I think that it needed that gruesome.
It reminded me of Mia in the 2013 sequel, Evil Dead.
Yeah,
where she was, mutilating herself. So,
but kind of just going back, like, one, I feel like evil never rests, and honestly now I feel like Art is the minion, and the demon is actually the stronger source. Because if you notice, like, with the little pale girl, that is the demon that has Art, that resurrects Art, right? And then as Victoria is beheaded, Art is gone. Art could have, stepped in, whatever, but he's out the window. He's gone.
I have a theory.
So I definitely think Art is the sidekick here.
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents.
The muscle.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on that. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna jump on that. Montavious, is that me and David were talking about it. Is that Art was a serial killer. This confirms that he was a serial killer from the get-go in Terrifier 1. It wasn't a demon. It wasn't anything. He was a serial killer that killed himself, and then the demon took advantage of that moment, right? Of like, oh, this is how I can get back. Boom. Now I think to your point, Marcus, of the annoyance, I think it's where Noah's going with. I think it's more of the it shows the humanity of both of them, of both Art and also Victoria, because now you have this demon that's just controlling Victoria, and so Art's humanity is like, could you fucking stop already? And so now after you get that look is when she offs Victoria. So it makes total sense that there's this gripe of it, and then maybe Art is combating the demon himself. Like, dude, I don't need no demons or anything else like this. I'm fucking Art the Clown, bro. I'm the serial killer. Like, I run this show, right? So that could be a possibility as well.
I'll give you the lamest answer. I think it was just a nod to Amelie playing the little pale girl in the other movie because she brought that playfulness to the movie, like where she was playing around with the possum and all the other stuff. That when I saw that scene when she was squeaking the horn, it's like, oh, that just reminds me of the little pale girl.
Yeah, because
And that's
But look at the
something that she
difference,
would be
though.
playing with
Victorial,
if she was in
right?
the movie.
In the second
Look
one,
at the
wasn't she
difference,
just like?
though, of how. Oh, go ahead, no.
I was gonna say, like, wasn't the little pale girl in the second one just like a ghost, not like physical form, or was she physical?
No.
Was she like the embodiment of Emily? Okay, then
Physical
I
form
retract
for
anything I
art,
was gonna
yeah.
say.
So, but look at the difference, though, of how joyous art was with the little pale girl. To
Wait, no, because
his
nobody
annoying
else was able to
connection.
see Emily except for Jonathan and Sienna. So she wasn't She wasn't a physical form.
For
So
art,
I
though, it
think
was
that
a
she was
physical form.
playful because the little pale girl was finally a physical form and able to play with the horn. Because in the opening sequence, he was playing patty cake with her, and the guy couldn't see her.
But see, that's not the first time that he was annoyed with her, because if you go back to part 2, he got annoyed with her with the TV screen, even though we didn't see her in part 1. It was the same exact scene that we finally saw her from Art's perspective. That's what he saw, and he was annoyed with her messing with the TV when Victoria's interview was going on. You know, so it was always some dynamic, like Danny was saying, that like maybe he had gotten to the point where he's like, yo, do I really need this? I could do this on my own. I was something else before she even took control. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know.
I had a theory
and that
brought a couple
also
theories
when he
in
goes
together.
like this, right? When he goes like this, when she's playing, you know, with the glass there, it's like, no, we don't do those type of things.
I think it was more of ooh, like, you know, shame on you, like,
naughty,
you know,
naughty.
yeah, like that, yeah.
All right. And any more predictions that anybody has out there? So let's kind of get to that. Go ahead, Noah. You're raising your hand there.
Okay, so we're talking about chosen ones, and we're talking about murals on paintings and whatnot. So here's what I'm thinking. So we're saying that Victoria's demon is stronger, but somehow she's dead. That doesn't make sense with me. Jonathan is either dead, or he's in the ninth circle, or he might be a host. Gabby might be the chosen one. Sienna might be the chosen one. We saw a dagger. Here's my theory. My theory is that Art is the counterpart to Sienna, as we saw, but they are both daggers. They are both the swords, as we saw on the mural. But the true chosen ones of good and evil would be Victoria or this demon that they spoke of. But let's say Victoria is the chosen evil that's stronger, right? She possesses Jonathan, and then the true good is actually Gabby, who is the Valkyrie, the chosen one, and Sienna is her warrior to Art being Victoria's or this other demon's warrior. So like maybe something there of that, but that's like all those things just kind of like somewhat like all those pieces were kind of puzzling together for me. Is that maybe Victoria, because she like melted away. Is there a chance that she was melting away back into the ninth circle because she realized that maybe she was at a loss there? Because she was like Victoria, or like
they focused
Sienna was
on it a lot.
Yeah.
So
I don't think the demon is completely dead.
Yeah, and she went down there with Gabby, so maybe she takes Gabby, maybe she takes Jonathan. I think that Victoria's demon makes a return in some capacity, but maybe we see what the demon looks like as its actual form now that we're probably going to be heading into the ninth circle again in the fourth one. So maybe that demon is the one with the horns that we've seen teased a little bit.
The sketches, yeah. I'm hoping that we do see it in its true form in the next one.
Yeah, that's interesting. Are we going to go to hell in the next movie? Is that where the focus is? Is where
I hope so.
Sienna now, right? Sienna has to find her way to get into the portal now that it's closed. Is she going to be hunting Art? Like, so that kind of blows my mind. Where do we really go with part 4? Is Art going to come for Sienna the next time, or is Sienna going to go for Art and then go into the portal of hell?
Yeah. I think it's interesting because if Sienna's not the chosen one, but she doesn't have her sword, the only way I would imagine that she gets there is by being the chosen one and having some mystical ability that we're not aware of, where she's able to open portals to hell. So while I am still leaning towards her being the chosen one, it would be interesting to see Gabby be the chosen one. Maybe I think that we're gonna get a fully powered Sienna in the final. Hopefully, the fourth is the final film. But if not, also dope. But in this fourth film, it's confirmed. Okay. So if the fourth film being the final film, I think we're getting a fully powered Sienna. No more mental blockers of drugs that she's taking because she's like a fully actualized hero now, and she's gonna find her way into hell of her own abilities.
Yeah.
You know what just hit me before we move on to comments? Because Dan said there's a lot of comments.
They are.
This reminds me, in a sense, based off of what Noah was just saying, it made me think of Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolution, where it was one long movie split up. And so what if ultimately, going back to what we were talking about earlier, the good and evil, the yin and the yang, that just like in Matrix Revolutions, Neo did die for the good of everyone. You know what I mean? So what if this is the case with, Sienna? Where,
before the fourth one. Get out of here, Noah.
Yeah, before the fourth one. Before it was like, 20 years before they made the new one. But what if that is the case in this, where whether Sienna dies halfway in the movie and Gabby takes over, or ultimately it is Sienna is the chosen one and she has to self-sacrifice for the sake of Jonathan and maybe even her dad and
Gabby could be the chosen one after Sienna.
Yeah.
And to your point, so we can get to comments. To your point, Marcus. Neo sacrificed him for the greater good of everybody. So, and it would make sense with the Crown of Thorns and everybody else with that whole self-sacrifice in, the whole Christianity and Catholicism religion. If Sienna did sacrifice herself for the greater good of humanity, that would totally make sense as well. Basically closing the portal to, hell, pretty much. But anyway,
honestly,
let's get some comments going.
All right.
Something else, but I won't say it.
All right, but before we hit the comments and we give everybody some time to throw some questions in there and some comments on their own theories, let me just go around on our chat here and see what everybody's major or one big thing that they're expecting from the next film or what their biggest theory is. Montavious, I'm going to put you on the spot. You're the guest. So any big things that you're looking forward to with Terrifier 4 or kind of things that you think may happen?
I think the most thing I'm going to be interested in seeing in the fourth installment is the setting. I don't think we're fighting on the Earth realm. I think Sienna is taking the fight to art and the demonic forces. So I think the setting is what I'm most looking forward to.
All right. Noah, how about you?
I don't really I need to see them watch the movie again to get predictions of what I think might happen in the next film. But what I'm excited to see is what we're gonna see out of Sienna in the new film, because like I said, I think we're gonna get a new Sienna in Terrifier 4. I think that you're right. I think that she's taking the offensive in this film, and I think that she's coming out like a bat out of hell, and it's gonna be very aggressive because she lost her aunt and her uncle, and potentially Jonathan on the same night, and that I know they're saying that her connection to Gabby is this all powerful thing, but let's think about what Jonathan was meant to her. Actually, Jonathan was a huge part of her life, and now Gabby's also missing, and that's her last shred of I think we can say giving a fuck, because once Gabby's gone, I think that she'd probably turn to the dark side, if you want to call it. So I think that we're seeing a much more aggressive and dangerous of Sienna. I think that we're getting another time jump in this one. I think that there might be maybe the first half of the film will be direct sequel, but I think we're getting a time jump of Sienna not being able to make her way into hell after trying for months on end, trying to get into hell and then just not being able to do it. And then we get some pivotal moment that brings her to a realization or whatever, and then she makes it into hell. But I think that what I'm excited to see is what we're getting out of Sienna, and what I'm hoping to see is more of a badass than we're already getting. Because what I was gonna say before about that crown thing is I think it's a new final girl crown, because we're getting a new queen of the final girls, depending on how this fourth one goes. Because Sienna's been kicking ass since the second. In just 2 movies, we've seen her kick some ass. So I'm very excited to see what we're getting with Sienna in the fourth one and how much of a. Let's see if she holds that title, because I think that she's holding it even right now. But
all right, Dan, what do you think?
I would like a direct sequel like Halloween 1 and 2. I would love that this movie just starts right away from Terrifier 3, and especially that like we were just all mentioning that it was one big film that split into 2. Would love to have right away Sienna trying to figure out a way how to get into hell, right? Whether she discovers new powers, whether she has to backtrack into her past, like her dad, maybe that door, you know what I mean, is a gateway to hell that she saw, you know what I mean, in her vision. Who knows?
Well, you know, it's.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
But the thing is that I would love to see that, man. I would love to see that this entire thing takes place in that realm. Maybe Sienna goes and finds Art so she can find a way to get into hell, right? Or maybe it's a trap, and Art's like, "Ha, you're here, welcome," right? And it's another deep dive into those realms. I think the story, the way it's progressed already, I think it would be very, very redundant to have it happen in the real world. I think it's very redundant to happen in the real world. So I would not appreciate another time skip unless it goes into our theories of like, hey, it's every few years these demons can be active. Then I will be okay with it. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, all right. I would be okay with that, but I think a direct sequel would be the best option at this point.
I just thought of in this movie, there was podcasters and I think a couple other people mentioned, like in the film, that they had theorized that Sienna was the killer in the second one. And now at the end of the third one, Art has disappeared, Victoria has melted away, and Sienna is left bruised and battered, surrounded by bodies. So if we
That's like 2 whole other movies there. That's like 2 more movies, Noah, just there.
Yeah, I know. So if they were to continue the franchise Bath 4, which we just confirmed that they're not, if they did a time jump in the fourth one, the time jump could be that she's getting arrested and she's getting put on a life sentence or a death penalty, and she has to, holy shit, what if they kill her or try to kill her with the death penalty, and then she comes back either as a demon or just bring her back as a demon?
What the hell are you talking about?
Wrap it up.
It'd be
Wrap
really
it up.
funny.
Wrap it
come
up.
on, no, we got some other people, man. We got.
ADD
Okay, but
is
you can't
strong
even say
right
that my
now.
prison, her getting arrested theory would be invalid though, because it was theorized that she killed people in the second one, and now she's surrounded by bodies once again, and there's no one else in sight except for her.
This is why we can't have a time skip. This is why we need a direct sequel of her just moving on into hell. Yeah. All right, Marcus.
Yep.
So I feel the 2 things that I want is I want, one, a reunion with Sienna with her father, whether it is the metal mask demon, or her father, in his natural state down there in hell. And then 2, I want the Ninth Circle novel that woman was reading to play a part in the next one, and that's how Sienna learns how to get to hell. You know what I mean? It's something in that text is how she learns how to get down there. So because I don't think Damien would just throw that in there as an Easter egg, just because.
How is this movie going to be just 2 hours? Marcus, how is this movie just going to be 2 hours, Marcus?
There's no way.
Wow.
There's no way. It has to be.
There isn't. There's so much left on the bone here. Oh, man. Sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead, Marcus. Finish.
No, that was it, man. Just about the novel. I want the novel to come back into play. But then, can I just give one quick shout out? Can I give one quick shout out? Can we say how good Phil Falcone sounded singing on the bus? Nobody expected that, man.
Uncle Phil, boy.
Uncle Phil, boy.
For some of you don't know, Uncle Phil worked on the franchise. He used his house. He built sets. He had a heart attack, was in the hospital, like, nope, we need to finish. And they're like, you need to rest, dog. Right? Like, it's
And then he was drawing it on napkins.
Yeah, coming from Wall Street to being an awesome producer, man, I got nothing but respect for Phil Falcone, man, and his wife too. His wife be hitting the ground and doing so much. So, man, shout out to that whole family, man.
Yeah, that comment of him being a fan of rom-coms over horror movies is a real life thing. I've heard him say that many times.
Yeah.
So I really don't know if we can do anything other than a direct sequel, but I'm going to predict that we're going to see Art the Clown transform in the next film, and I think we're going to see him have horns. I think we're going to see Art the Clown with horns in the next movie. He's going to turn into the demon that we've seen in Terrifier 2.
I think so.
All right, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of the comments we got out there. So we got a question. What was the best scene and best kill in your guys' opinion?
Marcus, in this movie?
In this one in particular?
Your name's not Marcus. Marcus. Yeah.
So
that's a good question.
I would say in this movie in particular, man, there's some good ones. I mean, of course, people are going to choose the bathroom scene, obviously, the shower scene. But for me, man, I actually kind of like the mom in the beginning at the opening scene, bro. Like, that was brutal. That was brutal, man. The mom and the dad, that was brutal, man.
That entire kill scene was
now
brutal.
what I'll say about that scene is I think this is why people left the theaters. And the reason why I'm thinking that this is the scene that people left the theaters, not seeing the kid chopped up on the bed, was because when I went to see Hostel in the theaters, one of the rare times that I could afford to go to the theaters back then, the scene where the eyeball gets cut off is where people left the theater. And when the axe hits the mom's head, we see the eyeballs, and I think people are like, nope, that's it, I'm done. So I think that's a good one.
I think Daniel Roebuck's kill scene was awesome too with the liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I called that shower scene as soon as I saw it, dude. As soon as the dude laid on the ground and crawling away, I'm like, he's getting that up the ass, and sure enough, it happened. Right? I was just like, dude, knowing Art. But I think in particular, there's two that stand out in my mind. So obviously, it's part of the shower scene, and the other one was Santa. That brutal torture scene with Santa, that was fucked, dude. But my favorite part of the shower scene isn't when he did all that. My favorite was the callback to what she said when she goes, I want to look into the killer's eyes and see what's there.
I love that.
When he took off the glasses and stared into her eyes and then put it on her face and booped her, I was like, that is some twisted shit right there.
Yeah.
It's just like, you got what you wanted. Yep, you got what you wanted. Her face all mangled, and boop, you're welcome.
And that just goes to show the intelligence of Art, man. Like, he sat back and listened to her, what she said, and then flipped it on her.
Oh, yeah. And then, you know, again, to piggyback off of what you're saying, Marcus, really quick so we can move on, is that Art being super fucking funny in this film was a highlight for me. And especially when, like, he's supposed to be worse than Jack the Ripper, and he's like, oh, stop it, right? Like, you can tell it's not a robotic machine, right? It's not a Michael Myers robotic machine that is just there, or a Jason brute that's like, no matter what you do, you know what I mean? It is, you see that he's paying attention. He's very smart and plans all that. I mean, when we saw the present in the bomb scene, which I called, I was like, he's being too nice. I was like, one of them is a bomb, and sure enough, bam! You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it just shows the intelligence of him. So yeah, there we go.
Thank you, sir. That was an Easter egg that I did not hit on before. Is the Jack the Ripper the scene, which I have to add to my document, which I'm going to do right now. Noah, what do you got?
So the best kill and my favorite scene are different. The best kill, I think, was the opening kills. And I think it was like just that scene in general, the way that it played out on screen, especially with the opening. She's like, oh my God, it's Santa. And then she starts to realize, like, it's slowly realizing, like, almost like that Jaws zoom in when the kid gets eaten right in the beginning, like, is almost like that realization. So then she goes to hide. And it's so different from what we actually see Art do in any other kill. It's slow and methodical and not, like, his kills are not super loud, but like, they have some oomph to them, you know. And then you get it. The first scene where he goes into that kid's room and you don't see it, but you hear it. You hear the whoosh as it's going down. And then even when he's killing the husband, it's still just pure violence, pure horror, no comedy until she turns on the lights and sees Art with you know, like just laughing at her and everything. Like that scene was just, it was the way that it was played. I was so different and so beautiful in a really demented way. And then my favorite scene, we already touched on this right down the beginning, or earlier in the movie, the chainsaw versus sword fight scene, fucking awesome. I love that scene. It was just that was amazing too. I really love that scene. That's my favorite scene, and then that would probably be my favorite kill scene as well.
And to add to that, I'm finally glad. I'm finally glad because I told this to Dave with Black Phone, and we fucking killed some kids, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what's scarier? No, seriously, what's scarier than that you have this killer has no remorse for anything and is just like, oh, easy target, and doing that.
And they did do it on camera. They did do it off camera, yes, but they still did it.
Oh, dude, they showed the body parts. They showed the body parts.
They didn't show the action of it happening.
Oh, yeah.
Kids died in Salem's Lot. Kids died in It Chapter 1 movie. So it's happened before. I'm so tired. Yeah, I'm so tired of hearing people say, "Well, they never kill kids on screen." Dude, yes, they do. Just pay attention. They do. All right.
What about you, Montavious?
Yep.
So for me, best scene is gonna be the bar scene with Santa Claus. That was so wholesome. That was hilarious, and the way David delivered that was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I actually felt like he was a 6-year-old kid seeing Santa for the first time. So I love that. Best kill scene though, I have to go with the rats coming out the throat after.
That's mine.
That was epic. So for sure.
And you know what's funny about that scene? Well, I won't say it's funny because it was torturous, but David Howard Thornton did a interview recently on a podcast talking about that was the toughest scene for him because of the fact of how he reacts to other people vomiting, and because they use like soup or clam chowder or something in that scene, it made him react to it physically. So it was like how tough it was for him on set to get through that scene. Man, it was rough.
Yep. Montavious,
he was like, it wasn't even the rats; it was just the soup.
Maybe that's the scene that made David Howard Thornton nauseous. Is the rat?
Yeah, it was. No, it wasn't even the rats. He said it wasn't the rats. It was the vomit, the fake vomit that made him nauseous.
Yeah. All right. That's my favorite scene too. So we won't spend any more time on that. Montavious just summed up. That was a great scene. Let's take a look at this next question. Was the concept of Art maybe a person who was a host of a children's program called The Clown Cafe, and then killed by the demon, etc.?
Ooh,
I like that. I like that. Danny, go ahead. You start us off.
Dude, I do like that. I do like that. Whether or not was a demon or was actually Art when he was a serial killer, and he, and just tore people up. You know what I mean? That's a great one. I mean, could it possibly be just Sienna, like playing on Sienna's mental state, like because she was young and she likes TV programs like that, etc. Maybe, right? But I do like that if it was a real life thing that was just a vision for Sienna. I do like that a lot. That's a good one. Good one, Rapid Fire. Hell yeah.
It ties into the comment that the guy made. It's like, oh, it's just a joke that the guy brought kids here and killed them in the basement. But that's a great one. Nova, what do you think about it?
Yeah, that was actually also what I was thinking about. Like, what if the serial killer was Art the Clown, as we knew, which was true. But he also, like, the clown working at the Clown Cafe, and then maybe luring children to go out, like come to his home, and then he kills them and puts them under the floorboards and whatnot. And they didn't find out about it until after they investigated his home after he killed himself in the first one. So that is a really good theory because there is the time jump, I think, in the second one. So like it would make, and then there's the time jump in the third one. So like when they're going to like go through this house and whatnot, that makes a lot of sense. So that would be that would all tie in very well and be very interesting. So, and it would make sense for Emily as well, for her death and why she's wearing the outfit and everything, because it was actually the serial killer of Art who killed her, and maybe he killed her in the Terrifier, and that was the significance there.
Yeah.
Yep. So much YouTube sorry, my beer's getting to me, but so much YouTube content that is coming out of this is fantastic. Martavius, what do you think about that one?
No, I think that's really good. I think that's kind of like a callback to Freddy in a way too, because I know he was a huge inspiration for Arthur Clown. So who knows? I mean, I don't know. I do like that though. I do like that. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was gonna say the same thing. It's like a callback to Freddy, and it would be interesting if he was working, as a circus clown or at the clown cafe, and then just became a serial killer and luring those kids to the house. Again, that would be. I mean, I hate to celebrate something like that, but at the same time, yeah, that would be cool as a callback to Freddy.
He kills himself in the first one, and then they're in the ninth circle. It's like, we're a fan of your work. Do you mind if we carry on?
That's a lot of kids, because remember Terrifier 2 is only like a year from the first one, and then we got the 5-year tie up between 2 and this one.
Well, we don't know what he was doing prior to the first Terrifier movie.
Yep. Well, they say he was terrorizing the Mouse County, so he was known already in the first Terrifier movie as the Mouse County killer.
Yes. Yep. So this is one of the reasons why I think a lot of us really love the Terrifier franchise, because it's just like Scream, and we're getting where we can go all these different directions with the franchise. It's like, all right, just the comments that we're getting now and what we've talked about, there's like maybe 2 or 3 more films that they really could do based off of what they do here. Could you imagine them going down the route where we explore? It's like, oh my God, Art the Clown was this? You need a movie dedicated just to that piece there. So there's a lot of story that can be told there. So yeah, that's just amazing. So we got one comment here. I love the irony that all are excited to go to hell in the next movie.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. Let's see what else we got here. So we got Cornhole, yeah, for sure, 150%. But do you think that T3 will be available on DVD before Christmas?
No.
Let me get this one.
Digital, yes, not digital.
I would love it.
No,
listen, I don't think DVD, but streaming wise, I would love on Christmas Day for it to be released.
I think it's going to be re-released.
Adding that to my list.
I think it's going back to the theaters. I think we're going to have November off, and it's coming back into the theaters in December.
That will be incredible. I mean,
if it does that, are we going to see it on Christmas?
Yes.
It will be good. So it's a double-edged sword with that one, because you're opening up against 2 major movies on Christmas Day. You got the Bob Dylan biopic, and you got Nosferatu opening up Christmas Day. So both of those, I will open before Christmas if I were to re-release in theaters, just not to go against
maybe
those
like 2. A week before.
Yeah, I would say like a week before would be a good idea to do. Yeah.
Well, boys, we got our wish though. Terrifier 3 is technically a Christmas movie.
It's
hands down.
And now we got a Christmas wish to see Terrifier right before Christmas again in theaters.
Yep.
I'm waiting for the Terrifier 4 to come out and then get a huge box set, and I'm gonna buy them all. That's what I want.
Ooh, I would love a nice box. There's going to be a great box set, because there's always great merchandise that is tied to Terrifier. So I have the Umbrella. This is art box set for Terrifier 2, so I'm excited to see what they're going to come out for Terrifier 3.
Nice.
All right, so we got William. I would love to see an all-out Terrifier 4 solely in hell, Art versus Sienna in nothing but hell.
Yes.
That's a lot. That's a lot, though. Two. We know it's going to be 2 hours, guys. Come on, 2 hours in hell, really? Yeah. No, what do you think?
That's a lot of red. That's a lot of red. I think that's a lot of red in a film. I don't know what the layout of what like hell is gonna look like in Terrifier 4, but I doubt it's gonna be a Starbucks. You know what I mean? Like I think that there needs to be some sort of investigation of her getting into hell. I don't think it just needs to happen. I don't think it just happens. I think we're gonna get to that point somewhere in the film. Because if you start out, I think that once we get to hell, shit needs to like just hit the fan instantly. Yeah. Like she's like, all right, I'm in hell. Let's take a break. No, motherfucker, there's a cacodemon right there. You need to get it. Like there's no breaks, no pauses. But I think that it can't be instantaneously into hell. I think it needs to gradually make its way into hell with like story getting us there. and then you're just right off the bat, holy shit, what is going on? But what if theory, what if she needs art to get into hell, and then that's her investigation? She goes and chases down art and uses him to get into hell.
Yeah, or
unless that Ninth Circle book is the
key.
Yeah, or then that's also a really good theory, because you can't just drop that little tidbit, like little bit of Easter egg in there and then throw it out. You can't edge us like that and then not expect us to finish. Like, you need to show us what's going on in the fourth one with that little piece of information.
Well, also,
Can I add
to
something real
piggyback
quick?
off of that.
What's up?
Oh, go ahead, Danny. I'll go after you.
So to go off of that, William, I kind of agree and kind of don't. Kind of like Noah saying, there has to be at least the first quarter of the movie for the investigation to get into hell, and then the rest, sure, yeah, everything else is in hell. But also to your point, Noah, depending on what theology you're looking into, the ninth circle of hell could either be completely on fire or completely ice. By the way,
Yep.
Because there's in some theologies that the ninth circle of hell doesn't burn you like fire, it burns you like ice, and everything's iced over. Like, that's where the term when hell freezes over. So that could be a really good thing, that it's not all red, right? We can have a dark blue-esque thing going on there. So yeah.
Before I pass this over to Montavious, I'm going to say for everybody that's watching, so we have producer on here, we have creative writers on here, we have writers that are working on films. I would say you can't do hell 3 acts. Hell is a 3rd act type of delivery.
Yeah.
Second act is the earliest. Second act is the earliest. You can't go on first act into hell unless you show demons that are already in hell as a part of the first act, but it can't be solely in hell. It has to be some sort of progression.
Or like introducing Gabby, like being down there, starting it off that way and calling out to Sienna somehow, or like in a dream or something. One thing I wanted to add though, like as far as Sienna getting to hell, if you guys, and I'm pretty sure everybody in the chat and everything on the channel have seen the Ice Nine Kills video by now, but that whole club scene of Art just handing out the weapons to the crowd, wouldn't it be awesome to see that in part 4, where it's just pure mayhem in a public setting?
That's what
and
I was
Sienna
gonna say.
is in there somehow. Yeah, and Sienna is in there somehow, and that could be an entryway to the ninth circle. You know what I mean? Like
he's got like a cadet, like a what's it called, like a drill sergeant hat on, and he's like, all right, man, get out of there.
Oh my god!
Art with the whip.
Enough of that.
Yeah,
all
right, Montavious, what do you got? What's your thoughts on this one?
Kind of like I said before, I think I kind of agree with Marcus. Like, if you're gonna open it up, you got to open it up with like Gabby, starting with Gabby down, in the ninth circle or in hell, if you will, calling out and fighting different things that she sees there, and then you have Sienna. You show her progression on getting there. So, but I think that it'd be a great way to start the 4th scene, and hopefully we can get a conclusion out of that. So, I'll see.
All right, Marcus, anything else you want to add to that, or no? You good?
Nah, yeah, I'm good, man. Everybody pretty much are in sync with this one.
All right, Danny, how about you? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, you can actually start it off with Jonathan. What happened to Jonathan?
Yeah.
You can start it off with what happened to Jonathan. Is he really dead, or did they capture him and bring him into hell? So
that's, you know what? That's what I'm gonna say. Like, for predictions or something I want to see the opening scene on Jonathan.
Yep.
All right, so our next one there is Terrifier 3 was a good film, but I was kind of hoping for more actual story and character interactions like the second film. It felt more like Terrifier 2.5 for me than a proper third film. I can see that.
Double Knees, we talked about it earlier.
Game.
Yeah, well, Double Knees, we kind of talked about that earlier when we started the podcast. This is definitely built up to 4. It's been confirmed it was one big thing. Definitely scenes were cut out. This is why it's split into 2. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. The pacing was good and everything else, but it's definitely more build up, more filler, if you will, than interaction. So yeah, I can see that.
Yep. Man, Kristen, I hope we didn't ruin this for you. Though I haven't seen the 3rd one yet. Final movie theory I have is Art gets a revelation and realizes Pale Girl is using him and retaliates and either goes for good or gets his ass kicked by Sienna in the last minute. I
Both
don't want to
happen.
see Art as good. Nope.
No,
This
it's
thing
too
got
late.
killed
No.
the entire
Yeah.
thing.
Especially
Yeah.
after what he's done. I think that it would just be a spit in the face of the character itself.
Yep.
To see him just absolutely just decimate the enough people to consider it a small town.
Yep.
And then he's like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm over it. I'm gonna be a good guy.
Nah, I'm cool with him turning on the demon though. I'm cool with him turning on the demon.
Him being truly evil.
He did already though. He kind of did already. He kind of did already. He was already. So Kristen, like we did our spoiler warning. So if you're still on there and you don't want this spoiler, please jump off now. But for the viewers that are still watching that haven't heard us yet, Art did get annoyed with the demon in the beginning. And it shows that Art may be wanting to take over hell for himself. And Sienna did kick his ass at the last minute. So, so both of those things happened. The good thing, though, no, you're going to ruin a totally great, fantastic character by doing that.
This would be on the level like of TV shows, like where you get that season finale and people are like, what? Just destroys everything that came before it. This would, if Art turned good, it would be the equal to Joker 2. Like you're going to see Joker 2 and you look at it, it's like, oh, you just shit on everything that you did in the first film because of that. So yeah,
you have to yes and
Kristen,
what you're building.
Sorry, I love talking to you on Facebook, but nope, not this one.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a great one here. So Sienna is Gabriel, Pale Girl is the Antichrist, and Art is the devil. And there is 2 demon entities. So Noah, go ahead. What are your thoughts about this?
I could agree with
that. I don't. Well, Gabriel the scribe in the I don't know who Gabriel is.
Gabriel has the
you're
horn.
gonna have to explain that.
Archangel.
So basically,
yeah.
So Gabriel, Michael, and all these other angels, they're archangels. They're basically warriors of God. I wouldn't. So I know Cornhole. I wouldn't say Sienna's Gabriel. I would say Sienna's Michael, because Michael's the one with the flaming sword.
And Michael's also the counter evil to, or the counter to Lucifer, isn't he?
No, Michael Lucifer. No, Lucifer was part of the archangels before he fell.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but wasn't Michael sent to wage war on Lucifer? Am I incorrect in that?
No, basically,
Jesus went to hell himself.
Jesus went to hell himself, pretty much. But when it comes to archangels, Lucifer was the light bringer to the humans and whatnot. Basically fell from grace and became the devil in that theology. But yeah, when it comes to sword and angels, especially when the emphasis is on the sword, especially if it turns into a fire sword, that'd be more Michael. But Pale Girl as the Antichrist is a good one, especially that put on the crown of thorns would definitely make sense. Art is the devil is kind of hard. I think Art right now is not, but Art is going to become the devil, as me and Dave said. And then 2 other demon entities could work out in the favor of both our theories of saying Jonathan and Gabby could be turned and be 2 other demonic entities. So that I can see that.
All right, Montavious, anything you want to add to that one?
No, not really. I mean, I like the theory on it though. I mean, it kind of flows with where the story's going, but we shall see.
Yep. Marcus, how about you? Anything you want to add to that one?
Nah, Danny nailed it on the head. I was going to say the same thing, exact thing he was going to say. So, yeah.
All right. So we have CWTZ joining us. They haven't touched much into his lore, so I'm still confused on what he is. Now, I'm on the fence. So being a content creator and also being a fan, like, we've talked about this many times, Danny and I on the channel with other guests on the show for interviews and stuff like that, and we've all kind of probably talked about this on the side, is like if you think of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, when we know what they are, the movie's kind of just like they kind of peter out. But like with Scream, what we've done with Scream is there's always questions going into every single film that's like, what's going on? Is there a cult? Who is it now? Blah, blah, blah. And then we all, as content creators, we go out there and we create our theories and we just create that buzz. Like, so for me as a fan first, I don't really care to know too much about his backstory, because then once I learn his backstory, then everything else is going to kind of get old afterwards. It's going to kind of be a little bland. I'm not going to go into every sequel that may come after 4 if Damien sells off the rights, thinking it's like, oh, so what art is, and try to figure it out. And then as a content creator, it's just gold there. Like, you don't want to know because you just want to theorize about it and have everybody else chime in on about it and think about it.
Yeah,
I think
also
not knowing as a fan makes sense too, though. Like not knowing as a fan, because it's like the aspect of like watching this character progress in its current day story, but not knowing its history it's and then like having those theories of your own with your friends and family, and still never getting that answer is a nice little like bait on the hook. It's like it keeps you enthralled, and it like the chase of the theories that you have really is what keeps the passion of the idea alive. So like as a fan and a content creator, I think that ties into both of what you were saying is that not knowing is really what makes it what it is just like what is this thing that we're getting, and not knowing is one of the best parts about the question of what is it.
Yeah, and to jump on that. Oh, never mind. Go ahead, Montavious. He's called on you.
Yeah, I think we need to keep art a secret for as long as possible, because one of my favorite creatures of all time that I will die on that hill is Jeepers Creepers. You don't know where he came from, what his origin is, and that's what adds that suspense to him. So I think art should be the same way. Let's keep it guessing.
All right, Danny, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so ZWTZ, by the way, great MF Doom icon, bro. That is awesome. I love your picture, MF Doom. Rest in power, right? But here's the deal. When it comes to, not everyone needs a backstory when it comes to this. Not everyone needs it. Not everyone needs to be good and something bad happens to them, then they turn this. But if you look in Terrifier 1, 2, and 3, if you look at the Easter eggs, you can piece it together that he's just a serial killer, because because what happened is that you saw when he killed himself, then he got possessed, then the letter says it needs to go ahead and take somebody like a serial killer. It's always hinting that he was just a serial killer and he's been on the spree for a while. And that's all we need. We don't need like, hey, he was a circus clown, kind of like Joker, and like no one laughed and he got pissed and snapped one day. We don't need all that, right? The greatest thing that I can say of John Carpenter, like, because we just went on this Halloween kick, and dude, I deep dive like crazy on this, is that when John Carpenter's original thing for the anthology of Halloween, the reason why it's supposed to be a one-off is to keep you guessing. Is this dude human? Is this dude not human? Because when he disappears at the end of part 1, there is no Dr. Loomis going in and touching and you see blood. There's nothing. He just disappears. And it's just like, what the fuck what is he? Right? And so like Noah was saying, and everyone else, as you can see, is just, it always keeps you guessing, and it gives you that slight bit more terror in your head of, oh my God, is this bigger than what it is, right? Because as humans, we like to overcomplicate simple solutions, right? Simple things. As you can see here, where all our theories happening right now. So that's what I got on it.
Before I just switch over to you, Marcus, I'm kind of glad that you brought that up, Danny. So like, the Halloween fan base is very divisive when it comes to the Rob Zombie films. And what's the difference between the Rob Zombie retelling of Halloween 1 versus the original is he gives you the backstory on why he is the way he is. And a lot of people hate it just because the unknown is now officially gone. Marcus, close us out on this one.
I was going to piggyback off of what Danny said. He, again, nailed it on the head. Like, if you go through part 1 all the way to this, you know exactly what art is with the little Easter eggs. You know what I mean? And knowing that he was just a serial killer, demented killer who was mute. Now that we don't know why he was mute, but who cares about that? That's what makes him awesome. But knowing that he was a serial killer, the only thing I would like to know is like, hey, did he make a kind of deal with the demonic entity? You know, of how he got possessed in the first place. Like, was there a deal made that he let the demonic entity in and took over his body and resurrected him? You know, that would be cool to know. But not knowing like who he was before all of this, I could give two shits about that. You know, I'm just glad that we got some demented killer who was a serial killer, and there is some supernatural element that resurrected him. And now, where do we go from here? Is he trying to take over, or what? Like, what is he mortal again? What? That's all I want to know.
Yeah, if we're getting a Terrifier, if we're getting an Art the Clown origin story, I would just want the serial killer origin story to see just truly how brutal he was as a serial killer before Terrifier 1.
Yeah.
That would be it. But other than that, I don't really think that there needs to be one.
I think the great thing with Damien Leone keeping the rights in his control is that him being a fan of horror and growing up in horror, he knows the backlash that's going to come from him revealing the truth and the origin behind art, because he's not going to please everybody, but it's likely going to be able to something that'll split the entire fan base is once you get that origin. People are going to hate it, and then they're going to trash the entire franchise that they've loved for years, or people are going to love it. All right, our final question or comment is from John. John, you may have missed this one. I think Jonathan is really dead. He's going to be Art's demon sidekick in the 4th.
Yeah, that's going to be brutal.
That would be interesting to see, too, if he just comes back and he's like, let me show you my little friend here, and it's just like a demonized version of Art, or of Jonathan with like some of the makeup or whatever, and like that's the big reveal is that he is gone. It's like, oh yeah, now he's my pal, basically. Like that would be interesting to see.
Make him look like the serial kid. Make him look like Lil Wesley as the serial kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I think we came up with a really good theory when we were doing our prediction show and saying that the end of this movie should have been Art the Clown killing Jonathan, and then the reveal was that Art the Clown was Sienna's father, and that's where you end it. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
mind explosion, everything goes from there, and then we have that wait. So I would have liked that ending a little bit more than the ending we got this time around. All right, so that's it of our all of our comments and questions that we have out there. Anything in closing? So we'll start with our guest, Montavious. Anything that you want to close out with Terrifier 3 or Terrifier 4 or anything?
No, just again, guys, go watch Terrifier. Go watch a horror movie today. Always support indie horror. It's very crucial. But yeah, no, that's all I got. No, thank you guys for having me on. I had fun.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. No, anything that you want to close out with Terrifier 3 or Terrifier 4?
I mean, so if I were to close out anything, I would close it out with just a question for the fans, and honestly for all of us as well, which is we've brought up Halloween a lot in this episode with doing the rankings and stuff like that, and we've also talked about, like, without the ones that we have ranked yet, that a lot of slasher horror franchises at a certain point just drop off with their sequels. And even some of the ones that have good sequels after some bad films, there's still at least 1 or 2 bad films in there. We'll incorporate All Hallows even all the way up to Terrifier 3. We've seen that all these films, while they're not perfect, they're all good. They're all at least very good, like, watchable movies, and progressively getting better. So my question would be, like, as just like to the fans and to all of us, is with Terrifier 4 being announced and being the final film, do we think that they can keep the momentum going and being one of the very few franchises that doesn't really have a truly bad film in their roster, just films that get progressively better? And like I would like to think that we're gonna see some history, because Terrifier as a whole has been making history, like from its beginning to now. So do we think that it can make, like, just as like a fan base history, is like, we're not going to see a single truly bad film in this franchise, and Terrifier 4 is going to prove that and elevate the franchise even more? So that's my question, is do we think that Terrifier will be one of the very few franchises to not have a bad film in its overall franchise and keep its momentum going? So that's my closing question.
I would say yes on that one.
I got an answer to that, and you're not going to like it. But Danny, go ahead.
Interesting.
Just come back to me at the end so I can close out.
All right, Marcus, how about you? Terrifier 3, any comments on it? Any comments for 4 before we close out?
Man, I'm just excited to see where Damien's going to go with 4, and I hope that it is the perfect conclusion to the saga. And I just pray that I won't say demented franchise. I just hope that more fans to it and people will understand more of just having respect for indie filmmaking, that like, hey, you don't have to sell out to make a great film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got these films that are made by people who love the genre, who respect the genre, and they're making it for fans because they're fans 1st. You know, so I'm hoping this franchise, especially the way that it'll end, will inspire more indie filmmaking in this fashion. You know, so
sticking it to the man. Like the big studios think they control everything, but the true creative power is with the indie filmmakers and even indie fan filmmakers, because there's a lot of great fan films that are out there. Noah, to answer your question, I am very nervous about Terrifier 4. This is speaking purely as a fan. I am nervous about what they're gonna do with 4. 4 is very big right now. Like what they built up and set up for part 4 is going to be very hard to pull off. And look, if when I go to 4, I may be coming out of there and loving it or hating it, but there's a lot that they've covered and a lot that they've built up to, and how it gets executed. Having known everybody that's involved with the film, I'm still a little nervous when it comes to 4. I'm actually starting to lean to is like, can they do it? Can they?
Can they keep up with them?
Can they stick the landing?
It's a valid like little fear to think if they can keep up with the momentum that they've had so far. I would like to say that based off of history, they can do it because they have shown us that they can, and we know that that 4 is going to just basically be the second half of 3, and we know that 3 was good. So I mean, evidence suggests that this film will be, if not better, at least if not better than 2 and 3, then at the very least it's keeping up with the pace of how good these movies have been. It is. I will say it's very appropriate fear to think that they might not be able to keep up with their momentum, but there's not really any studio entanglement where there's production companies pushing on Damien. So I trust that his care and love for his character is going to keep the script good.
Yep. And just a quick plug. So every month of the first Sunday, we are reviewing slasher films. So for this entire year, we're going to review 12 slasher films, and then we'll have a big battle next October where we rank all the slasher films. Now, Evil Dead is not a slasher film, but that is the closest franchise that I think is complete throughout, where it has good movies throughout everyone.
Yeah.
But Danny, you wanted to close us out. Go ahead, close us out.
Alrighty, guys. Really quick, I'm gonna tell you my predictions, and then we'll close out. Here's the deal. I agree with everybody. This is a great time for indie filmmakers, guys. So for all of you that are watching, that if you're an indie filmmaker, or if you know friends that are indie filmmakers or family members that are indie filmmakers, push them to do so. As you saw, Terrifier 3 destroyed Joker 2 in the box offices. Not only that, you can see the love and the content that we want is coming because of indie filmmakers. When people have full control, Deadpool and Wolverine, it's a testament to that as well. Ryan Reynolds is a big fan of Marvel. He loves reading the comics and stuff, and he gave us what the fans want. He knows, and that's why he wanted ultimate control. Even though Disney kind of wedged their way in, he ultimately got what he wanted for the most part, and we loved it. So please support your indie filmmakers. Please push them to do so, because I'm telling you right now, I think this is a new age that as we see Hollywood movies continue to bomb, the indie filmmaker circuit is going to come back with a hard vengeance, no pun intended. For Terrifier 4, I do have the same sentiments as Dave. I really do believe they need to end it properly. I mean, we saw what happened with Halloween Ends. We saw what happened with a lot of movies that we absolutely loved, and they came and dropped the ball. I do believe in Damien. I do believe in David Howard Thornton, Uncle Phil, and everybody else on the team. I think it being a two-parter, technically, from 3 and 4, I think we're going to do very, very well with that. And for Damien to be a horror fan, I think he's going to give us something, whether you love it or hate it, is going to be with a pretty bow tying this story up in its entirety, right? So that's all I got for that So also, guys, Montavious, what is your channel? Can you plug away?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, so if you guys just want to keep up with YouTube or whatever I got going on, you can follow me at _empty crypt on social media across the board. Be happy to interact.
Awesome.
Just to piggyback off of Montavious, keep an eye out. Montavious and I are working on a project, if you haven't heard already, with Jonas Davis from Terrifier 2. Mirror, Mirror. We're shooting that next month, so keep an eye out on that in the coming months.
Oh yeah.
Noah, you got anything?
Yes.
I would honestly just like to piggyback off of your point, which is that if you like, even if you have like an idea, like I think pretty much all of us here can say that we've lost sleep or like been up, like just with ideas in our head of any capacity. If you have like, just do it. Just like if you like, even if you think it sucks, not all of your ideas are gonna be great. I've had some shitty ideas that I've like made, like that I've wanted to write out into scripts. I've had some good ideas that I've even progressed and made different and completely changed because I didn't like the way that the story was writing. So as Danny was saying, like just get out there, just do what you have. Like if you have a phone, like a cell phone, you're already on a very big step of the way that you're halfway done because you have a decent camera, you have a way to write these scripts digitally, and you have a microphone. Like so you have and you can buy like these like cheapo, like not super expensive mics and lights. You don't have to buy this expensive stuff to get started, to just make something. So like get a couple $100 set aside for lights and camera, whatever you have, and you're good to go. Like all it takes is an idea and a cell phone nowadays, and you can make something that might take out another superhero movie at the box office. So don't discourage yourself, because I think all of us here have done that at one point, where we've discouraged ourselves from doing something that we've genuinely wanted to do because it's uncertain. But you shouldn't do that. You should definitely just go in for what you're passionate with and just do it. Obviously have security, but with your life, but don't put your dreams on a back burner, because that it's just going to keep you up at night.
All right, we're ending with flowers and rose petals and all this other things. So yeah,
don't
I don't like to do
happiness.
negative
Don't shit on
reviews
dreams.
anymore, but that's the case. Like I don't like to do negative reviews on the channel anymore, just because if you made the attempt to make a film and put it out there, you've already done something that thousands of other people that have wanted to do it chickened out of doing it. So with that, everybody, thank you for joining us for this, and we will catch you next week.
Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the little bell button.
One more thing. Tuesday the 15th, from the same team behind the Terrifier franchise, we're having a live Q&A and watching stream. You got to sync up your own copy,
true.
Of course. But
Yep.
Come and join us on the 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
Yep.
Check us out, guys.
See you soon.
Without further ado, peace.
Later.
We did it. This went on a lot longer than expected.
Yeah, it did.